So, unfortunately, my computer, I can't fix it. I don't know how to fix it. It's like a bad port or something, so I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. But I'm here to say good morning. Well, I've rebooted. I've spent the last day trying to fix this computer, trying to troubleshoot. Good morning. Hi, Kevin. I was thinking about you yesterday. So, I'm having a really bad time right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. And I'm not going to go into all of it. Believe it or not, usually I would, right? Usually I can't stop from telling people. Well, this microphone doesn't even work, so I don't even know why I'm worried about that. Because this microphone doesn't even work. Anyway, it's alright. That's the way cookie crumbles. Sometimes in life, you're the windshield, and sometimes you're the bug. That's all. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, Lee. Hi, Mr. Spock. Neil. I'm really glad. And Kevin. And Grace Lisa. You brought donut holes. Hooray. We may use them. I don't know. I spent a lot of time trying to troubleshoot yesterday what's wrong with this computer. And I think it's a bad port. But there's other things that are wrong with the computer. But I think for this particular issue, I have a bad port, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why one USB port in a computer would, like, fail. So, I hate PCs. That's really what it comes down to. I have a laptop that's a PC. So, I don't know. I think I need a desktop. I think I need something more, like, sturdy. Yay, yay, donut holes! Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do today. I had a lot of stuff planned, but that's not necessarily going to happen. Happen. Yeah. But, you know, hey, that's what happens when you are not very good at what you do. Oh, no, what happened to my... Oh, boy, what happened to that? Where is it? Oh, shit. Shit. Okay, is that it? Yeah, okay. Actually, that's one good thing that happened. Let me see what I had for us today, because I have a lot. Is there something? Oh, shit. Sorry! Sorry! Anyway, good morning, Grace Lisa! Yeah, weed works for me. Me too, Mr. Spock. At least it takes my mind off things. Thank God for drugs. I don't know, it's just been a series of misadventures. And I'm not very good at dealing with misadventures in my present mental state. So that's the problem. I don't want any adventures. I don't need any adventures. Well, McDonald's is kicking me out. No more free Wi-Fi. It's kicking you out? Oh, Kevin. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So today, let's see. Yeah, I just want the world to be kinder. I mean, there's so many they want you to buy something. Here, buy something. I'll send you some money. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba ba ba. What? Oh, I know what it is. I know why that is. Hold on. Do 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 do. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh boy. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. La 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 la. Yeah, 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 yeah. And now this and now that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doop, 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 doop. Yay. Okay, Kevin, go get a cup of coffee. Go get a McFlurry. Go get a McFlurry. Boo to McDonald's. Well, I just sent you $20, so go tell him to give you your fucking Wi-Fi. Fucking assholes. Yeah, you need to make friends with a middle schooler. They will probably diagnose and fix your trouble. I know. I need a computer guy. Of course, babe. Of course, my love. Of course, my love. When I have it, you know I'm gonna give it. You know that. You know that, babe. But you go tell those meanies to fucking give you Wi-Fi. They don't make any money on their Wi-Fi. I mean, come on now. It's like fuck, man. Just give people Wi-Fi. What the hell? What's wrong with this country? What is wrong with this country where people can't access just basic, the basic, what I guess it's a comfort. I don't even know if it's a comfort, but I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, money is meaningless, or should be. It should be meaningless. It shouldn't have to be that we have basic survival, and that is dependent on whether or not, you're. Anyway, I don't want to go on. Kevin, I love you so much. You know how I feel about you, so have fun. Get a McFlurry, though. Ask them if their McFlurry machine is working. No, I'm not a human angel. I am not a human angel. My dad said, you know, basically, if you've got it, give it. That's what he's always said. And there's times when I don't have it. Like there's times when I don't. And I don't have a lot, but it's just anyway, I just think people should be able to like survive in dignity and not have to like worry about all this stuff. It just makes me really sick. Anyway, I'm sorry, Kevin. I don't mean to go on. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff. I guess I want to show you. Like I had it all in order too. It's so cute. But that's okay. We'll do it. I don't like money. When I get some, I do stupid things. I do too. Like I do too. I'll spend stuff on stupid. I'll spend money on frivolous things. I will definitely spend money on frivolous things. So yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. What was? I don't know if anything was happening today. Hold on. I actually didn't even check. That's terrible. What's happening today? Although I do have like 13 tabs open of stuff that I'd like to read to you. Let's see. Press conference. NATO Secretary General gives remarks. Uh-oh, where's Jane? Because Ruta is in the building. Ruta. House members on bipartisan immigration reform. Oh, that's a speech. Okay, I mean, I care about it, of course, but not at this moment. Not for that. Let's see where we go, and here we are, and there we go. La, la, la. A little bit of ice action last night. A little bit of ice action in New York last night, which was disgusting, and people stood up. I'm just so proud of people. I'm so proud because I really believe this, and I know this sounds really stupid, but just bear with me. I really believe that if the more people who show up immediately to resist or to question or to scream or to whatever, around where ICE is, around where any of these enforcement actions are taking place, I feel like that can turn the tide. And it's hard work, and it's like you're depending on a lot of other people, but I truly believe that if we get out there when they're in there that make it very uncomfortable, I think we can really push the whole, the way the ICE raids are happening, the way that they're. I think we can change that. I think we can change the way that the government is operating. And I know right now what they're trying to do is paint us as so violent that that we're the drama, when in fact what we're doing is standing up, as is the tradition of people in this country, or at least should be was for a portion of them, to stand up to authority that is unjust. And I just believe that if we do that, it's going to help. And I think it's great that New Yorkers really turned out for that enforcement action last night. So that was really cool. Um, yeah, where is Jane? She's going to miss Bruta. I don't know if we're going to catch Bruta, but we'll see when he's speaking. I'm not sure. I'm surprised he's not like speaking right now. Merkley is Merkley still holding the floor? Is he really? Is he really? No, wait. Why is that playing now in there? Wait. So you guys can't hear. I think I have to turn this off altogether. Oh boy, this thing is really falling apart. Can I be honest with you? I'm going to have a good cry after this show. Because my system is completely like not working. Okay. Lord, if you exist, which I don't think you do. No, I think I would want you to actually do something about like people's human suffering and not my computer. I don't think my computer rises to that. They're bullies, and I refuse to accept their projections. I agree, and it's like that's why again the inflatables. I think it's an important thing because it's like no. At once, we can take the administration very seriously about what they're doing to this country. And then on the other hand, we can show them how fucking ridiculous it is that they think that they can pull this shit on people and that we won't see through it. And I think that's one of the messages that the inflatables sends is that we see through your message. We see through to how scared you are. And that when people who want power are scared, they strike out at others who are holding the mirror up to them. It's very painful to have a mirror held up to you, right? Nobody wants that. I mean, it's hard. So I say no. I reject wholesale the notion that we are in the wrong. I think we're quite in the right. So fuck them. And you know what? They're trying to push us to violence, and I get that. And frankly, I don't care if one of them gets punched out. People on the left have gotten punched out plenty, and they've celebrated. So I don't really care. I just don't care about that. Okay. Anyway, I know. Most of my money goes to feeding my old cat, Hector. I'm going to tell you right now, cats are very expensive. They are. They really are. Let me see if this works now. I just want to see if I can play anything for you if I... You know what I want to do? I want to get like a desktop that is powerful enough to do streaming and gaming at the same, like all the things. So I think what I'm going to do is save my pennies and try and get an actual desktop that is a more stable machine. I don't know what's happening with this one. It's not, I don't know. But this is the one thing in my life that I enjoy is doing this. And pretty much if this is taken away from me, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I'm just going to I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna say that. It's tenuous. I wasn't sure you'd be here today. Hi, Karen. Good morning. It's your birthday. Oh my God! Happy birthday to you. Wait, I gotta sing you happy birthday, but I don't have my microphone. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dearest Karen. Happy birthday to you and many more. Karen, happy birthday. Oh my gosh, I hope you do something so nice for yourself today. I hope, I hope, I hope. Um, yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Let's see what happens when I press this button. Hold on just a minute. Wait, how do I do that? Oh yeah, I can do that. All right, let's see when I press this button. Let's see what happens. Hi Jim Nalgren. Hi Lee.
Said, you know, one of them said the district judge was just right. There is no rebellion, there is no invasion. But the other two said, well, you know what? Even though the district judge used the definition of rebellion that was considered at the time, basically that there has to be a sizable group that is well organized, that is weaponized, seeking to overturn the government. And we think maybe you should apply a looser definition of rebellion. And then, instead of looking at the facts on the ground at the time that the president wanted to federalize the troops, look back a few months when there were a few more arrests, and maybe that's a justification to say there's something like rebellion. But most importantly, you should give high deference to the president. And this what terrifies me, because I'm afraid that the Supreme Court may issue a decision even soon on a shadow docket on the Seventh Circuit decision, and they'll say, yeah, it's a rebellion if the president says so. And that is insane. That opens the door to using the military anywhere the president wants, anytime, against our citizens, violating the fears of our founders who didn't want a standing army to begin with because they felt that it threatened freedom, because they knew executives, chief executives are.
So did that work? I just really wanted to make sure you guys could hear it. No, it's not fixed. I have to yeah, it's not fixed. It's not fixed. Thank you so much. I'm getting $5 sushi for lunch and a bit of carrot cake tomorrow. My high school bestie is taking me to an art show and dinner. That's so nice. I think that's a great way to spend your birthday. That's a great way to spend your birthday. Nicely done. Let's see. So, what are we doing? What are we doing? What do we do? Peace Love's doing her thing. She's gone live. Looser definition of rebellion. Arrest everyone who looks at Trump the wrong way. It's so true. I just, someone said at the New York thing last night, I think it was one of the borough representatives, and he was like, someone's been arrested, at the ICE facility in downtown, in downtown New York. And he said someone's been arrested, and we heard it was about their social media posts. And if that's true, I don't know what's happening in New York, but if there's people that have been caught for their social media posts, what the hell? Long article, but probably one you'd want to see. Oh, thank you. Can't help and think that tie and shirt are intentionally pink and blue. I agree. Merkley wore a trans flag as a cape at the recent No Kings. I'll admit I don't know much about him, but he's got my support. No, he's a good guy. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you he's a good guy, but you can see for yourself whether or not you agree. But in general, I have found him to be a more stalwart and straightforward critic of authoritarianism and bigotry and other things. So, I mean, in my experience, I haven't seen uh, problematic or weakness or other things that we might not want in a democratic thing. Let's check out what Gal brought us today. Something went wrong. Oh no, what the hell? Hold on, let me get that. Da 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 da. I don't think. Oh, here we go. It's working. There it is. There it is. I just pushed the wrong thing. Okay. Oh. Oh, spinning wheel of death. Spinning wheel, keep on burning. Do 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 now. Oh shit. Now. It's spinning. Hold on. Wow. You have one job, world. Okay, well, we'll come back to what Gal has shared with us. Because, let's see, I want to, unless that's a problem of everything. Do 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 Oh, uh-oh. I'm gonna sneeze. Achoo! Oh, yikes. Okay. Yikes. Hate to be you, Karen. I have some donut holes. Happy birthday to you. Was I not HTB? Thank you. I'm like, hate to be you? No. Happy birthday to you. Okay. They want riots so badly. It's so. I'm telling you. Oh my god. I feel like it's intentional that they've sent people into these areas like Portland where they're having these protests just to try and get people to get into physical fights. And I know that can't be possible because there's no way in the world that this administration can coordinate on the ground shit the way with any. I mean, maybe they can, but I doubt it. So anyway, yeah, it's totally intentional, and it's just such a. And I feel so bad because like I watch these streamers, and I know what these guys are up to. I know that they're just trying to fucking fuck with people, and the fact that that people are engaging with them earnestly, like trying to have a conversation, it just makes me so mad. We didn't teach people how to deal with chuds over the years. Why didn't we do that? Why didn't we do that? Yeah, what is it doing to us? Is this the piece that you wanted me to read, or was it a different one? Oh my god, pop ups are my bane. Deep State Wrecking Ball. Oh my gosh, Russell Vote. Oh, I do want to read these. Oh, gal, thank you. These are good additions. Um, so let's jump into it because you can see I have a lot of tabs today, and we're just gonna see if I can successfully get through any of them with this technology or lack thereof. So let's begin. Let's begin. Actually, we'll begin with. I want to read this. This looks like it's really good. This is from Gal Russell Vote is using the White House Budget Office to lay waste to the federal bureaucracy, firing workers, decimating agencies, and testing the rule of law. And that's just Tuesday. But I'm dumb. I don't have my soundboard. So, but I'm bummed. I don't think it's going to open. Oh, it is opening. Okay. Here we go. This is from October 17th, and this is from The New Yorker. It's a piece from The New Yorker. Russell Vote. Okay, we read that already. Okay. Beep, 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 beep. Oops. There we go. It's a coordination between. Boo-doo, boo, boo, boo-doo. Okay. On the afternoon of February 12th, Russell Vought, the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget, summoned a small group of career staffers to the Eisenhower Executive Office building for a meeting about foreign aid. A storm had dumped nearly 6 inches of snow on Washington, D.C. The rest of the federal government was running on a 2-hour delay, but Vought had offered his team no such reprieve. As they filed into a second-floor conference room decorated with photos of past OMB directors, Vought took his seat at the center of a worn wooden table and laid his briefing materials out before him. Vought, a bookish technocrat with an encyclopedic knowledge of the inner workings of the U.S. government, cuts an unusual figure in Trump's inner circle of Fox News hosts and right-wing influencers. He speaks in a flat, nasally monotone, and with his tortoiseshell glasses, standard-issue blue suits, and a corona of close-cropped hair, most resembles what he claims to despise, a federal bureaucrat. The Office of Management and Budget, like Vought himself, is little known outside the Beltway and poorly understood even among political insiders. What it lacks in cachet, however, it makes up for in the vast influence it wields across the government. Samuel Bagenstos, an OMB general counsel during the Biden administration, told me every goddamn thing in the executive branch goes through OMB. The OMB reviews all significant regulations proposed by individual agencies. It vets executive orders before the president signs them. It issues workforce policies for more than 2 million federal employees. Most notably, every penny appropriated by Congress is dispensed by the OMB, making the agency a potential choke point in a federal bureaucracy that currently spends about $7 trillion a year. Shalonda Young, Vought's predecessor, told me, if you're okay with your name not being in the spotlight and just getting stuff done, then directing the OMB can be one of the most powerful jobs in D.C. During Donald Dump's first term, Vought, whose name is pronounced Vote, did more than perhaps anyone else to turn the president's demands and personal grievances into government action. In 2019, after Congress refused to fund Trump's border wall, Vought, then the acting director of the OMB, redirected billions of dollars in the Department of Defense money to build it. Later that year, after the Trump White House pressured Ukraine's government to investigate Joe Biden, who was running for president, Vought froze $214 million in security assistance for Ukraine. That's right. The president loved Russ because he could count on him. Mark Paoletta, another dickwad, who has served as the OMB general counsel in both Trump administrations, said at a conservative policy summit in 2022, according to a recording I obtained. He wasn't a showboat, and he was committed to doing what the president wanted to do. After the pro-dump riots at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, many Republicans, including top administration officials, disavowed the president. Vought remained loyal. That's because he was part of the fucking plan. He echoed Trump's baseless claims about election fraud and publicly defended people who were arrested for their participation in the melee. During the Biden years, Vought labored to translate the lessons of Trump's tumultuous first term into a more effective second presidency. He chaired the transition portion of Project 2025, a joint effort by a coalition of conservative groups to develop a roadmap for the next Republican administration, helping to draft some 350 executive orders and other plans to more fully empower the president. Despite his best thinking and the aggressive things they tried in Trump 1, nothing really stuck. A former OMB branch chief who served under Vought during the first Trump administration told me, most administrations don't get a 4-year pause or have the chance to think about, why isn't this working? The former branch chief added, now he gets to come back and steamroll everyone. At the meeting in February, according to people familiar with the events, Vought's directive was simple: slash foreign assistance to the greatest extent possible. The U.S. government shouldn't support overseas anti-malaria initiatives, he argued, because buying mosquito nets doesn't make Americans safer or more prosperous. He questioned why the U.S. funded an international vaccine alliance, given the anti-vaccine views of Trump's nominee for Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The conversation turned to the United States Institute of Peace, a government-funded nonprofit created under Ronald Reagan, which worked to prevent conflicts overseas. Vought asked what options existed to eliminate it. When he was told that the USIP was funded by Congress and legally independent, he replied, we'll see what we can do. A few days later, Trump signed an executive order that directed the OMB to dismantle the organization. See, this is why he's the evil one, okay? Russ Vought is the evil one. Like, we need to make sure that we're turning people's attention also, and their ire, towards the architects and the, you know, the section managers of this dismantling of democracy. I mean, this man, Russ Vought, should be hung. he should be executed because he has committed crimes against humanity, and the deaths of anyone who died as a result of cutting off USAID should be used as evidence of his crimes. And yeah, he should be executed for treason and crimes against humanity. Sorry, I'm not in a good mood, and so there you go. That's just the way I feel. I don't think there's one redeemable thing about Russ Vought. Not one. Not one. Not one. The OMB staffers had tried to anticipate Vought's desired outcome for more than $7 billion that the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development spent each year on humanitarian assistance, including disaster relief and support for refugees and conflict victims. During the campaign, Dump had vowed to defund agencies that give money to people who have no respect for us at all. And Project 2025 had accused USAID of pursuing a, quote, divisive political and cultural agenda. The staffers proposed a cut of 50%. Vought was unsatisfied. What would be the consequences, he asked, of a much larger reduction? A career official answered, less humanitarian aid would mean more people would die. You could say that about any of these cuts, Vought replied. I maybe shouldn't have read this on this day, but okay. Let's keep going. You could say that about any of these cuts. All right, a person familiar with the meeting described his reaction as blasé. Vought reiterated that he wanted spending on foreign aid to be as close to zero as possible on the fastest timeline possible. Several analysts left the meeting rattled. Word of what happened spread quickly among the OMB staff. Another person familiar with the meeting later told me, it was the day that broke me. Then why didn't you all walk up and say, like, I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I also know corporate think. And if these motherfuckers are just like, oh, that's really sad, you know, like, oh my God. What Vought has done in the 9 months since Trump took office goes much further than slashing foreign aid. Relying on an expansive theory of presidential power and a willingness to test the rule of law, he has frozen vast sums of federal spending, terminated tens of thousands of federal workers, and in a few cases brought entire agencies to a standstill. I mean, where is there any crimes? Is there any crime? Is there any accountability for this fucking douche whistle? Like, Russ Vought needs to go to hell, like, faster than any of these guys, like, immediately. Like aneurysm, like something, like hit by a bus. I don't care. I don't care if he has children. I don't give a shit. Because he doesn't care about anybody's children. He doesn't give a shit about anybody's children. So you know what? Fuck you, Russ Vought. Fuck your children. Fuck your parents. Fuck your grandchildren. Fuck anybody who thinks you're a nice person. Fuck anybody who's ever been nice to you. Go to hell. Die. Relying. In early October, after Senate Democrats refused to vote for a budget resolution without additional health care protections, effectively shutting down the government, Vought became the face of the White House's response. On the second day of the closure, Trump shared an AI-generated video that depicted his budget director, who by then had threatened mass firings across the federal workforce and paused or canceled $26 billion in funding for infrastructure and clean energy projects in blue states. As the Grim Reaper, which is now what he calls him now. He calls him Grim Reaper. That's what he calls him. Did you read Trump running around Mar-a-Lago trying to find a woman to have sex? What? Oh my God. I'm not sure. Maybe we read this one later. I know. I don't think I can. I mean, I want to, but no, it's pretty long too. Okay, we're definitely going to read this, but I'm not in a good space right now, so I might not read it right now. I might not read it right now. I thought there was something on today. Why did I think there was something on? Why did I think there was some? I had this whole like lineup of stuff. Hold on. Um, maybe I'll wait on the. What's this? Oh, I want to read these. I want to read. This is more like South America type stuff. Vote is the architect of evil. Yeah, vote. Yeah, no, it's just about Russ Vought, and we all know how I feel about Russ Vought. I just said it. I want him to die. I want him to die, and I want it to be painful. I'm not gonna do anything about it, but I'm wishing for it. How about that? How about that? I won't be sad when it happens. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I actually don't know. I mean, I actually had a situation where I had a boss that was, you know, it's not that she was doing bad things. It's that she didn't do enough to, like, she didn't take responsibility for a lot of stuff. And I complained about that, and I ended up getting fired because I complained about the fact that she wasn't doing what she should do as the CEO of the nonprofit. So it was scary. It was scary to do that. It was scary to stand up. It was scary to lose your job when you lived in New York City and you had to pay your rent. That was scary. That was scary. And they turned you out with 2 weeks pay or something. It was scary. It was scary to stand up for the right thing. It hurts. I suffered. I thought I was going to lose it all. I thought I was going to be homeless. I thought all those things. I was scared of everything. I didn't know what to do. But I probably should have quit sooner, but they ended up firing me because I said this is not right, and I had made a decision to uh, take action against someone who was an abuser of children, or at least in the past when I discovered it, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that. So I got fired from that organization. But you got to stand up. You, you got to stand up. That's the way it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the reason I judge people is because you got to fucking do it. You got to. You can't not. You can't. You can't. In some ways, you have to resist. You know. I don't know. Anyway, maybe one day I'll tell that whole story, but I'm under an NDA, so I'm not technically supposed to tell that story. Although I don't know if the NDA means anything anymore since the entire board was basically fired from the organization. So I'm not sure if my NDA is still in effect, but oh my god. The evil in this world. A friend just broke up. I told him women are like buses. If you wait long enough, another one comes by. That's true. It's actually not true. I'm 61 years old and I have not found someone. So they don't. I mean, maybe it's the opposite. Men don't come by in buses all the time. Or when they do, all they do is crush your hopes and dreams. So anyway, maybe we should keep going. Okay, let's read some news. How about that? I wanted to do a cluster of things around South America, given what we're dealing. So I tried to group things this morning, actually, somewhat geographically. You know, just trying to do the right thing here. But this was a piece. I think Teresa actually gave me this. I apologize for not remembering, but I think it was Teresa who shared this. Or maybe it was you, Gal. Gosh, I really don't remember. I need to be better about noting that stuff. Rubio promised to betray informants to get Trump's El Salvador prison deal. Yeah, yeah. This is from October 19th, Washington Post. I don't want to subscribe right now. I thought I had a subscription to Washington Post for some reason, but now I don't. I can't find it. It's usually Teresa. I know she's usually really good. All you guys are so good about sharing stuff. But I know I owe someone else for this access to this article. She is so on top of it. Oh my god. The unsung hero of our friend group, really. I mean, she just grinds. That woman grinds. Russ Vought is a psychopath. I'm sorry. I think he should get all the treatments because he intends to go to work every day and make people's lives miserable. And if you do that, if you spend your life, then I don't care what happened to you when you were a kid. I don't give a shit. You know? All of us have shit in our past. It doesn't mean you have to be an asshole that kills millions of children. So I do. I hope there's a Nuremberg 2.0, and I hope they decide that Russ Vought will be hung in front of his grandchildren until he's dead. Oops. I guess I'm a little angry this morning. I need to refill my Vulcan Viagra. Pon Far. What's Pon Far? Oh no, I don't even know what that is. I don't get it that Trump was running around chasing women for vote when he has Madame Yang holding court in the lobby. Oh, is that the woman from Mar-a-Lago that does that? We should send him art projects, sculpted penises. I put the address above. What? That? Oh my god. I need to copy that. Hold on. Oh my god. We're gonna get in trouble. I don't want to send him anything dangerous. I'm not trying to kill him. I'm not trying to kill him. Okay, I'm gonna keep that on there because I want to just like I want to keep this like there. Oops. Oh no, I don't know why I didn't want to do that. Okay, I'm gonna keep that. Vulcans only have sex every 7 years. It's called the Pon farr. Are you kidding me? With how smart they are, that's all they do. Yeah, keep a happy thought. I'm trying. I'm trying. I know. I know. You know what I need to do? I think I need to be like one of those people that just goes out and lives on an island and doesn't interact with people. That's what I think. What's it called? I think it's a hermit. That's what I think it is. Oh, didn't Ron DeSantis get sent tampons? Yes, I mean they did something. Why can't we do something like that? You know how they did that in the movie The Miracle on 34th Street where they all sent the letter saying that Santa Claus was real? what, if we, what if we did that? Could we do that? Would that work? All right, hold on. I have to put on my lip gloss. It's the plot to. Oh, we need to watch the other Star Wars movies. Maybe that's what our Saturday movie is. The Wrath of Khan. What do you guys think about that? I'm sorry to keep making you watch whatever movie I decide I want to watch. I'm really terrible at getting input from people on movies. I really it's more out of just keeping my life simple. It's not because I'm a horrible coordinator. I like can coordinate. I cannot coordinate my way out of a paper bag. So that's why. All right, so let's read about Marco Rubio because part of my curiosity of life is that Marco Rubio is just how can he be as horrible as he actually has become? I actually thought he was like horrible, but not like whatever. But now he's like full on 100% horrible. Con. Well, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'd like to watch some more. We should rewatch Star Trek. I haven't watched Star Trek in like decades, probably, like the shows. In the days before the dump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelan immigrants to a notorious prison in El Salvador, the president of that country demanded something for himself: the return of 9 MS-13 gang leaders in U.S. custody. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in a March 13th phone call with Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, promised the request would be fulfilled, according to officials familiar with the conversation. But there was one obstacle. Some of the MS-13 members Bukele wanted were informants under the protection of the U.S. government, Rubio told him. To deport them to El Salvador, Attorney General Pam Bondi would need to terminate the Justice Department's arrangements with those men, Rubio said. He assured Bukele that Bondi would complete that process and Washington would hand over the MS-13 leaders. You do. You watch TNG and Voyager periodically. I need to do that because I never really got into the later shows. and for whatever reason, and I would actually like to do that. What happened to him? I know it looks like whatever soul that he had in his body, Grace Lisa, just like escaped, and it's now replaced. Yeah, it raptured on one of those. He's totally dead-eyed. You're right. Look at that face. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. Okay. Rubio's extraordinary pledge illustrates the extent to which the Dump administration was willing to meet Bukele's demands as it negotiated what would become one of the signature agreements of President Dump's early months in office. While the outlines of the quid pro quo have been public for months, the Dump administration's willingness to renege on secret arrangements made with informants who had aided U.S. investigations has not been previously reported. But you notice that nobody's talking about it, and nobody's asking Marco about it, and nobody's asking the president about it. The deal between Rubio and Bukele granted the administration access to a sprawling foreign prison dubbed the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CCOT, that would be integral to Trump's ongoing efforts to conduct the largest deportation in American history. The deal would give Bukele possession of individuals who had threatened to expose the alleged deals his government had made with MS-13 to help achieve El Salvador's historic drop in violence, officials said. For the Salvadoran president, a return of the informants was viewed as critical to preserving his tough-on-crime reputation. It was also a key step in hindering an ongoing U.S. investigation into his government's relationship with MS-13, a gang famous for displays of excessive violence in the United States and elsewhere. But in promising to terminate the informant arrangements, current and former Justice Department officials say Rubio threatened to undercut years of work by U.S. law enforcement to apprehend and secure the cooperation of high-ranking members of one of the world's most deadly gangs. The deal is a deep betrayal of U.S. law enforcement, whose agents risked their lives to apprehend the gang members, said Douglas Farah, a U.S. contractor who worked with federal officials to investigate and help dismantle the MS-13 gang. Nixing the agreements also threatens to damage the credibility of the Justice Department, which routinely relies on informants to build cases against high-level criminals, officials said. Informant agreements are based on assurances and the cooperators will be protected by the United States. Reneging on promises made in exchange for information could hinder the ability of U.S. law enforcement to develop relationships with potential cooperators in future. Who would ever trust the word of U.S. law enforcement or prosecutors again, Farah said. At least 3 of the MS-13 leaders Bukele requested had divulged incriminating information about members of his government, suspected of cutting deals with the gang, officials said. One of them, I mean, this is like such a classic corruption. It's so weird that this stuff gets to go open, like in the open, and then things like, I don't know, Merrick Garland also should burn in hell, okay? That's what I think. I'm sorry. Joe Biden, burn in hell. Like all of them. Because frankly, they did fuck all to help us. The 4 years that we had for them to help brace us against this, they did fuck all. It's so disappointing. Trump did the same thing to Israel his first term. A list of Israel's informants working in Syria. He gave the list to Putin, turned it over to Syria, and all the informants disappeared. I guess it is. I guess it is a revolution. I don't know how else you do it. I don't know who's coming to help. I don't think anyone in the military feels like they can stand up. I don't understand that, but you know, the Southern Command guy left. I kind of want to read about that too. I think I might have a story in here about that, but I have to check because I really wanted to make sure that was part of it. Anyway. Okay, one of them, Cesar Lopez Larios, whom U.S. prosecutors charged last year with directing MS-13's activities in the United States, was sent back to El Salvador 2 days after the Rubio-Bukele phone call. The others remain in the U.S. waiting to learn whether they, too, will be handed over to the very government they were cooperating against. They're going to be killed. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? What is this? What the fuck is this? Why are we standing up for this? Why? Why are we standing up for this? can't even believe this. Like, no one is safe. Like, if you think you're safe, Chudleys, you're not. They decide they don't like you, you're going to be sent somewhere. I already think I'm going to be sent somewhere, which is ridiculous. But that's how ridiculous this administration is. Like, this is not right. This is not normal. I don't care who's running it. I'm telling you right now, it's not normal. Fuckers. The State Department dismissed criticism of Rubio's deal-making, saying the secretary's diplomacy allowed the United States to deport hundreds of alleged members of the gang Trente Aragua to El Salvador before they were later transported to Venezuela, where the group was founded. The Trump administration's results speak for themselves. Tommy Pigott. Oh, Tommy. Yeah, I know Tommy. He is a pig. He actually looks like a pig. He looks like a little pig. Have you seen Tommy? Tommy looks like a little pig. Let me show you Tommy. I've been wondering where Tommy is because, you know, when Tammy Faye Rumsfeld went off to the UN, this is so hilarious to me that his fucking name is Pigott because he looks like a little fucking pig. Yeah. Yep, that's right. Let me show you Tommy Pigott. Pig face. Pig face boy. There he is. Oops, hold on. I need to do that. That's Tommy Pigott. There's the pig face boy. And you know what he does? Here's what he does. I don't know what his salary is, but I'd love to know. Because what he does is he stands up at State Department briefings. Oh, that's right. They don't have State Department briefings anymore. They used to have them 2 times a week. And now they don't have them since they sent Tammy Faye Rumsfeld. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Sent Tammy Faye Rumsfeld to the UN. They don't have State Department briefings anymore. But we're just letting it happen. And you know what? I go out and protest. And nobody gives a shit if I protest. So unless other people start protesting with me, nothing's going to change. So it doesn't matter what I do. So that's Piggy. We hate Piggy. Piggy is a pig. Oops. Piggy is a big pig. Wow, this is a worse day than I thought it was. Okay. Where am I? Where's my Rubio? Oops, that's the other one. Nope. Oh wait, I'm back here. Okay. All right, Piggy spokesperson. Hardened TDA members are back in Venezuela. MS-13 gang members are being prosecuted in the U.S. and El Salvador, and Americans are safer as a result. I don't feel safer. I feel unsafe. And I'm a white, heterosexual woman, and I feel unsafe. So just imagine what my friends and others are experiencing. Wait, did I miss anything? Yeah. Justice Department spokesperson Gates McGavick said the department is proud to collaborate with the State Department on dismantling MS-13. This administration has investigated, prosecuted, and taken custody of key foreign terrorists with unprecedented success, the official said. The government of El Salvador did not respond to requests for comment. Damian Merlo, a lobbyist for the Bukele government, defended the Salvadoran president's pursuit of MS-13 leaders. Whoopsie. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. Come on. Oh, actually, I guess I'll just leave that there. These are Salvadoran terrorists, and he wants them to do time in El Salvador, Merlo said. There's a terrorism center, and that's where they should be, not in what would be considered a posh detention facility in the U.S. What? One day the rest will join us and claim to have been on our side the whole time. Yeah, exactly, Meowing Star. It's so true. Someday everyone will go, wow, how did this happen? I have nightmares more nights about not being able, than not about being abducted by the feds. I cannot imagine in comparison the fear faced by migrants, documented or not. And as, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to say anything eloquently. This article is based on accounts from dozens of officials in the United States and El Salvador, lawyers representing MS-13 gang members, prosecutors, diplomats, former Justice Department officials, and political appointees. Most spoke on the condition of anonymity. There's Bukele and Rubio. The deal. Rubio's central role in brokering the deal highlights his evolution from a one-time Trump critic to a dogged implementer of the president's agenda, exploiting his Spanish fluency and rapport with Latin American leaders to supercharge Trump's most hard-edged policies. As Rubio was finalizing the deal with Bukele in March, he was on a multi-day trip to Saudi Arabia and Canada and had received multiple phone calls from Trump about the status of the deal, said two political appointees. The White House was concerned that if the Venezuelans weren't deported immediately, a federal judge could order their release in response to challenges to their detention. I don't know. I don't know about this world. The trade that Rubio brokered helped both Dump and Bukele tackle issues core to their political ascendancy. Dump, who campaigned on ridding the country of undocumented immigrants, needed a foreign partner to accept deportees regardless of nationality or legal considerations. Bukele, who cultivated a reputation as a crime-fighting visionary, needed the U.S. justice system to help ward off threats to that image. The Central American leader's self-described world's coolest dictator. He's another one who needs to be hung by the neck until dead. Sorry, not sorry. Is enormously popular in El Salvador. Really? Is he enormously popular in El Salvador for his aggressive crackdown on organized crime and record reductions in homicides? Is he? But his curtailment of civil liberties, sweeping accumulation of executive power, and oversight of a prison system beset by abuse allegations have earned condemnation among human rights advocates. And I would imagine some in his own country, too. I need a ball liquor emoji. That's pretty good, Josh. That's pretty good. Those criticisms have been brushed aside by Dump, who hailed his leadership during a high-profile meeting at the White House in April. You're doing incredibly for your country, and we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we, Trump said. Trump told Bukele in the Oval Office. We're very eager to help, Bukele said. You have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And that guy's the guy to do it. Oh my fucking God. Thus far, Bukele has held up his end of the bargain, housing roughly 250 deportees in the CICOP prison before they were sent to Venezuela in the subsequent deal brokered between Washington, San Salvador, and Caracas. The same cannot be said of Dump administration, which has returned only one of the 9 men Bukele demanded, Lopez Larios. Prosecutors moved to dismiss the case against him, citing geopolitical and national security concerns, and he was deported to El Salvador in mid-March. And he's probably dead. The other 8 remain in U.S. custody. It's unclear if the Trump administration still intends to send them back, and if so, whether it can prevail over legal hurdles that could prevent their deportations. The administration began the process for deporting Vladimir Arevalo Chavez, an alleged MS-13 leader known as Vampiro, in April, but the effort has drawn scrutiny from a federal judge in New York who imposed a delay. Such obstacles were top of mind for Bukele during his mid-March calls with Rubio, said officials familiar with the conversations. The Salvadoran president worried his request would get bogged down in the U.S. legal system, and he repeatedly pressured Rubio to guarantee all 9 MS-13 leaders would be returned, these officials said. He promised to incarcerate hundreds or even thousands more immigrants from the United States if that helped sweeten the deal. And he vowed that no physical harm would come to the MS-13 leaders' members once in his custody. Okay. Rubio assured Bukele he would get his men and stressed that the American public cared little about the fate of Salvadoran gang members, officials said. Well, you know what? Guess what? I actually do care about their fate. Because it seems to me that they made a decision, or maybe were forced to, but nonetheless had cooperated with the United States government. Oh, that's a good one, Mr. Spock. That's a good one. Each of the 8 men who remain in U.S. custody could be removed to El Salvador at a moment's notice, putting them at immediate risk of potential reprisal from MS-13 members or the Bukele government. My life is in very danger if I'm deported, Arevalo Chavez wrote in June in a letter to the judge overseeing his case. I will be tortured and disposed of. The investigation that brought the 9 men into U.S. custody among the most significant gang prosecutions undertaken by the Justice Department in years. Late in Trump's first term, the Justice Department convened a special team of investigators and prosecutors from across the country, known as the Joint Task Force Vulcan. Its goal was to target not just low-level MS-13 gang members believed to be responsible for kidnappings, drug trafficking, and murders in the United States, but also more senior gang members directing the gang's activities from El Salvador. When the task force announced its first high-profile indictment in 2021, more than a dozen alleged MS-13 leaders were named as defendants, including Lopez Larios. The charging document detailed how a council of top gang leaders, many of them incarcerated in El Salvador, maintained an iron grip in that country through acts of violence and lucrative trade in drugs and weapons throughout Central America, Mexico, and the United States. A second indictment followed a year later, laying out striking allegations about MS-13's ties to the Bukele government. Though the prosecutors did not charge or even name Bukele or any specific officials in El Salvador, they alleged unidentified members of his administration had secretly met numerous times with MS-13's leaders in prison in El Salvador. Bukele's government, the U.S. indictment said, had agreed to give them financial benefits and less restrictive prison conditions in exchange for their promise to reduce the number of MS-13's public murders. So it would appear that the country's homicide rate was decreasing. A development Bukele's subordinates had hoped would boost him and his party at the polls, court documents allege. Wow, that's quite an allegation. Vulcan, yeah! The gang leaders also demanded that El Salvador refuse to extradite them to the United States, according to the indictment. Bukele has repeatedly denied negotiating with gang members. How can they put out such an obvious lie without anybody questioning it? That doesn't mean anything. He tweeted after the Treasury Department under the Biden administration sanctioned 2 Salvadoran officials for their roles in alleged gang negotiations. Oh, so we knew about it, we just didn't actually follow through with it. Okay, I understand. Yes, he's been speaking like for 24 hours. I know, he really is. One of these men, Elmer Canales Rivera, also known as Crook to Hollywood, was among the lead negotiators of MS-13's pact with the Bukele government, according to the Justice Department's 2022 indictment. A Bukele official arranged for his release in an attempt to show the gang his loyalty, according to recordings obtained by the investigative news outlet El Faro. U.S. prosecutors allege that high-level Salvadoran government officials personally escorted Canales Rivera from prison, housed him in a luxury apartment, provided him with a gun, and drove him to the Guatemalan border to be smuggled out of the country. After the Justice Department made public his allegations about the Bukele government's role in Canales Rivera's escape, he was apprehended in Mexico in November 2023, and authorities in that country quickly agreed to send him to the United States. Once in U.S. custody, Canales Rivera offered to hand over recordings, photos, videos, and other documentation, according to 3 people familiar with the matter, that would implicate the Salvadoran government in deal-making with MS-13. He agreed to a confidential plea deal and provided investigators information central to an investigation they had been building for years, one aimed at exposing how the deal struck between MS-13 and the Bukele government used U.S. resources and put Americans in harm's way, several people familiar with the matter said. Canales Rivera's lawyers declined to discuss details of his cooperation, but 3 officials with knowledge of the matter said Vulcan investigators had been pursuing 2 top Bukele officials who allegedly facilitated the deals to benefit the gang. Reuters reported in late 2021 that U.S. authorities were preparing indictments against Carlos Marroquin, who ran the government's social welfare agency, and Bukele's Deputy Justice Minister, Osiris Luna. Marroquin and Luna did not respond to a request for comment. A Justice Department spokesperson declined to answer questions about the investigation. U.S. authorities suspected Bukele's government had used USAID money to benefit MS-13's leaders, according to 3 people familiar with the investigation, though it is unclear how much evidence investigators found to back up those claims. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know which grants were redirected for that. I'd really like to know. We were trying to follow the money to locate who was involved in moving money and how the gang received money, and that's where we started to find the connections to the political figures, said Chris Musto, a former Homeland Security Investigations agent who worked on the Vulcan until 2021. A former State Department official said the U.S. government believed Canales Rivera could provide a mountain of evidence that the DOJ needed to pursue these indictments. If he were returned to El Salvador as Rubio promised Bukele, the entire case could fall apart, one current U.S. investigator said. On March 11th, the U.S. took its first formal steps to comply with Bukele's requests. Justice Department lawyers asked a federal court to dismiss the case against Lopez Larios, one of the men whose return Bukele had demanded. Prosecutors provided little explanation for that request, which was initially filed under seal and made no mention of any deal struck with Bukele. They wrote that while they believed the evidence against the gang leader was strong, the United States had determined that sensitive and important foreign policy considerations outweighed the value in bringing Lopez Larios to trial. Like Canales Rivera, Lopez Larios had provided at least some information to U.S. investigators, as had a third defendant, according to 3 people with knowledge of the investigation. At the time of Rubio's promise to Bukele, neither Lopez Larios nor the third defendant had cemented a formal plea agreement with the U.S. Prosecutors, as Canales Rivera had done, 3 people said. Within 4 days of the Justice Department's request, U.S. District Judge Joan Azraq had signed off, and Lopez Larios was flown out of the country on one of the first flights the Trump administration launched as part of its deal to ship Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador. A video posted by Bukele showed authorities loading a shackled Lopez Larios onto a military vehicle bound for Secot, where he was told to say his name on camera as he was shorn of his beard on bended knee. Now he resides at what one Salvadoran official described as a safe house, a measure that could be aimed at protecting him from gangs seeking to kill him in prison. Lopez Larios' lawyer, Jeffrey Patel, declined to comment. Attorneys for the third defendant did not respond. In early April, U.S. prosecutors asked to drop charges against another of the alleged MS-13 leaders, Arevalo Chavez, who had been in the U.S. custody since early 2023, but, according to his attorneys, is not among those who have been cooperating with U.S. authorities. But this time, in a remarkable ruling, Azraq acknowledged that she now regrets taking the government at its word and so quickly agreeing to its request for secrecy amid Lopez Larios' removal, given details that have since emerged in the news media. She questioned the propriety of some aspects of the U.S. agreement to return Lopez Larios, Arevalo Chavez, and the other men to Bukele's control. For now, the judge has refused to grant immediate dismissal of Arevalo Chavez's case while she presses for more details on the Trump administration's deal with Bukele and whether the accused gang leader should be granted an opportunity to challenge his deportation on the grounds that he could be tortured or disappeared should he be returned to El Salvador. Still, Azraq ultimately has little legal latitude to deny prosecution requests to withdraw charges against any of the alleged gang leaders or to stop the government from eventually deporting them, a fact that's left the remaining MS-13 leaders in U.S. custody wondering if they could be next. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York referred all questions to the Justice Department. Bukele, as recently as July, expressed frustration that the U.S. hadn't delivered the MS-13 leaders that Rubio promised to send, according to an official. Some Justice Department officials, meanwhile, have bristled at attempts to deport people the U.S. spent years trying to arrest and persuade to cooperate. It would be very disheartening if I worked my butt off for a year to collect that evidence, to get him into custody, to bring him to justice, just for the Department of Justice or the State Department to turn around and say, okay, we're going to drop all charges, said Daniel Brunner, a former FBI agent who worked on Vulcan. It would gut me as a case agent. While the Justice Department's investigation formally continues into the alleged agreements between MS-13 and the Salvadoran government, really? Is it really? Current and former officials said resources have been redirected to boost efforts elsewhere. No shit. Ugh, maybe Marco volunteered to have a chip. Oh my god, maybe he does. Hi, Teresa. Hi. Hi. Not much. Usual stuff. No one is wanting to investigate anything related to El Salvador or Bukele because the Bukele administration right now has a direct line to the White House, said one former State Department official who was in El Salvador. No one is touching that. Oh my god, Marco. Marco. And then this was from the New York Times from what, yesterday? No, when was this? No, this is the 19th as well. You see, I've had some things that I've wanted to read to you. All right, let me take a break for a minute. Maybe Marco. Yeah, maybe he has a Neuralink. It makes him frown. Maybe he's a Neuralink kid now. I'm a big kid now. All right, let's smoke some weed. How is everybody? How are you guys? Everybody doing okay? I'll be better. I'll be better later. Oh, it's so nice. Okay, I wanted to read this though. Colombia's leader accuses U.S. of murder, prompting Trump to halt aid. President Gustavo Petro said a U.S. strike in the Caribbean had killed a fisherman. President Dump said he would cut aid to him and impose new tariffs on Colombian imports. So there. Oh my God. President Gustavo Petro of Colombia accused the United States of murdering a fisherman in an attack on a boat that the American authorities claimed was carrying illicit drugs. Dump responded on Sunday that he would slash assistance and impose new tariffs on the country. The feuding between the two leaders reflected rising tensions in the region over the huge U.S. military deployment in the Caribbean, targeting Colombia's neighbor, Venezuela. U.S. forces have killed dozens of people in recent weeks aboard vessels that the Dump administration says were ferrying drugs from Venezuela. The administration has provided no evidence to support the claims beyond descriptions of intelligence assessments and declassified videos of portions of the attacks. Legal specialists have called such killings illegal because militaries cannot lawfully target citizens who do not pose a threat in the moment and are not directly participating in hostilities. U.S. government officials have committed murder and violated our sovereignty in territorial waters, Mr. Petro wrote on social media. He said the man killed in the mid-September attack, Alejandro Carranza, was a lifelong fisherman whose boat had experienced damage and was adrift, probably in Colombian waters, at the time of the attack. His description of Mr. Carranza and his boat could not be immediately confirmed. Mr. Dump responded by accusing Mr. Petro of not doing enough to curb the production of illegal drugs, calling him an illegal drug dealer with a fresh mouth towards America. Mr. Trump also said that the United States would halt aid payments to Colombia, which has long ranked among the largest recipients worldwide of U.S. counter-narcotics assistance. He later told reporters on Air Force One that he would announce new tariffs on Colombian goods on Monday. The two presidents have had a stormy relationship since the start of the second Dump administration. In January, just days after Dump came into office, he threatened to impose sky-high tariffs on Colombia when Mr. Petro moved to block Mr. Trump's use of military aircraft to deport thousands of migrants to Colombia. The United States also revoked Mr. Petro's visa during the United Nations General Assembly in September after he called for American soldiers to disobey Mr. Trump at a pro-Palestinian rally in New York. My refrigerator is out for delivery. I had to take off work. They somehow failed to understand after 1:30 and scheduled me between 11 and 3. Oh, man. Well, that's fun, though, Josh. A new fridge. That's fun. It's like a new chance, a new beginning. Dropping some trade stuff in Discord later. EO American AI export program, so that the U.S. AI tech stack is the basis of. Oh boy, wow. The EO is from July, so maybe not new info, but the program is ready to be implemented. There's an opportunity to submit comments. Ooh, okay. I'll take a look. I'll take a look at that. Still, it was not immediately clear what impact Mr. Dump's new aid cuts would have. The Trump administration had already slashed aid to Colombia earlier this year, as it did to other parts of Latin America. Colombia had been set to receive more than $400 million in aid at the start of the year, according to Adam Isaacson, Director of Defense Oversight at the Washington Office on Latin America, a research group. He said that the earlier cuts had left Colombia with about one-fourth of that. While Colombia and the United States still cooperate on counter-narcotics efforts, overall American assistance to the country has declined from the years of Plan Colombia, an early 2000s initiative that wound down a decade ago and was aimed at combating both drug cartels and armed leftist insurgencies. Beyond the effect on aid, the quarreling underscores how Colombia could face greater fallout from the U.S. military deployment in the Caribbean. Colombia is by far the world's largest producer of cocaine and a much larger player in the global drug trade than Venezuela, which produces negligible amounts of cocaine and plays essentially no role in the production or smuggling of fentanyl. Soon after Mr. Dump issued his call to halt aid to Colombia, Defense Secretary Pete Pigsbreath announced yet another strike on a vessel, which Mr. Pigsbreath claimed was connected to a Colombian rebel group, the National Liberation Army. Without providing evidence for his claims, Mr. Hegseth said that the boat, which was attacked on Friday, had been carrying narcotics. The deployment of U.S. forces is the largest in the region in decades, including about 10,000 U.S. troops and dozens of military aircraft and ships. While the Trump administration says it is a counter-drug and counter-terrorism mission, officials have privately made clear that the main goal is to drive Venezuela's authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro from power. Mr. Petro, a leftist and former member of an urban guerrilla group who became president in 2022, has repeatedly expressed support for Mr. Maduro as the crisis simmers between Washington and Caracas. The Colombian president has shown a willingness to spar with Mr. Trump, in sharp contrast to the cautious stances most other Latin American leaders have adopted with the administration. In Colombia, Mr. Petro's positioning drew varied responses. Vicky Davila, a journalist and conservative presidential contender, expressed support for Mr. Dump on Sunday, saying social media, Petro and his corrupt government have favored drug trafficking in every way possible. But Senator Ivan Cepeda, a supporter of Mr. Petro, suggested Mr. Dump should instead focus on the ample demand for illegal drugs in the United States. We have a dignified president, one who does not kneel and who demands that the United States take responsibility for its role in the drug trafficking problem, Mr. Cepeda said. In social media posts over the weekend, Mr. Petro urged his attorney general to help the family of Mr. Carranza, the fisherman killed in the September attack, to file claims against the United States. Mr. Petro suggested that the Carranza family bring claims in collaboration with a Trinidadian family that also says a relative was killed in another U.S. strike. Although the U.S. campaign in the Caribbean has been aimed primarily at those suspected of being Venezuelan drug runners, the strikes have killed or wounded individuals from other countries. Another Colombian, Jason Obando Perez, was caught up in the sixth such U.S. airstrike last week, along with a citizen of Ecuador. Both survived. They were aboard a semi-submersible that was blown up Thursday and rescued by U.S. forces and initially treated aboard a U.S. Navy ship in the Caribbean. Mr. Obando Perez was repatriated Saturday and hospitalized in Colombia with a brain trauma and breathing on a ventilator. Armando Benedetti, Colombia's Minister of the Interior, said in a social media posting on Saturday night. Once he is awake, he will be processed by the justice system for drug trafficking, Mr. Benedetti said. The other survivor of Thursday's attack was returned to Ecuador on Saturday and was undergoing medical evaluation. So there's a little insight into that part. And then we have Argentina. Cry for me, Argentina. This is my last South Central American piece for you. Hey, share the broadcast. Why do we have lower numbers, I wonder? Probably because I don't have any sound. All right, and good old, Argentina. We're giving them 20 billion, no, 40 billion, 80 billion. I'm not even sure how much money we're giving them, but we're giving them a lot of money. Well, what's interesting is how Milei handles money, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. This is from the Buenos Aires Times, and I think this is older. This is from May. Okay, so this is an article from May, because I wanted to, in my focus on Central South America kind of thing, Caribbean, I wanted to bring in the Milei piece, because I want to remind us of what we learned about Milei in the previous Wake and Bakes that we've had. So, Malaysia, this is the latest I could find because he's still under investigation, or actually, excuse me, part of the government in Argentina dropped an investigation against Milei for his participation in a crypto scam, the Libra coin, which we talked about at length in the Wake and Bake, to the 15 people that showed up. Maybe I need to just get a real job. That might be what I need to do. Yeah, he's trying to tie why really needs some money. Oh wow. So he is trying to his why what? To hide. Oh, well, I don't even, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot. There's actually a lot that's going on. This is just one piece of it. But I wanted to talk about what's been happening with that case against him, which actually part of his government has dropped that case against him. And one of the reasons they did that is because in May of this year, he, as I'm going to read to you, shuttered the office investigating the Libra scandal. So, because when you're the president, you can do it. The government says the special unit set up by Javier Milei and also disbanded by him, probing allegations related to the controversial cryptocurrency scandal, shuttered after completing its assigned task. So there he is. He's an idiot. President Javier Milei has dissolved a special investigative unit he himself established to probe alleged wrongdoing in his controversial promotion of the Libra cryptocurrency. I'm going to see if I can make this bigger. I don't think. Oh, I can. In a decree signed by the president and published in the official Gazette on Tuesday, again, this was in May of this year, Millet justified the move on the grounds that the unit had completed its assigned task, examining complaints about the head of state's role in the so-called Cryptogate scandal. The government considers that the information gathered has been forwarded to the public prosecutor's office and that the unit has fulfilled its task under the decree blah blah blah. Reads decree blah blah blah, which is co-signed by Justice Minister Mariano Cuneo Libarona. According to the text, information was sourced from several government department offices, including the Anti-Corruption Office, Central Bank, Financial Information Unit, Money Laundering Watchdog, the National Securities Commission, and the ARCA Tax Bureau, among others. The Investigative Tax Unit was created by Millet last February 19th, 5 days after the controversial launch of the Libra meme coin, which moved more than $4.5 billion before plummeting in value. Investors are thought to have lost at least $250 million in the scam. Libra was promoted by Millet on his personal social media accounts last February 14th as a private project aimed at stimulating the growth of the Argentine economy by financing small businesses and Argentine entrepreneurs. The world wants to invest in Argentina. Libra, he wrote. But Libra went from boom to bust, all in the space of an evening. After Millet's apparent thumbs up, it soared in value, but then plummeted 90% within 2 hours. Industry experts have called the operation a rug pull, a scam where developers unveil a crypto token, attract investors, and then quickly cash out. The president later claimed he did not know all the details of the project. I have nothing to hide. I didn't promote it. I spread awareness of it, Millet said at the time, attempting to play down his role of the scandal. Last month, lawmakers in Argentina's lower house backed the creation of a commission of inquiry to investigate potential wrongdoing in the launch of Libra's cryptocurrency. I think that's the thing that's been disbanded. Alongside the formation of the investigative body, deputies also secured approval to summon key government officials to testify over the affair. Judge Maria Romilda Servini de Cubria has been tasked with investigating Millet's connection to Libra amid allegations that he was complicit in fraud, consorted with criminals, or guilty of malfeasance. Last week, she ordered the central bank to provide information on banking operations involving the president and his sister, the presidential chief of staff, Karina Millet. No information has been made public about the public prosecutor's office and its determination as to whether any financial crimes or conflicts of interest involving officials from the national government were committed. Investigations are also ongoing with the Anti-Corruption Office, which I think that's the one that was dropped. I'll find out. According to local media, the scandal has also prompted allegations of fraud in courts in the United States, with one class action suit accusing Millet of deceptive promotion and negligence, arguing that his investments could not have taken place without his publicity. To date, no official data or findings from the now shuttered UTI unit have been made public. The unit, based within the Justice Ministry, was tasked with gathering information on the case and collaborating with the Judiciary and Public Prosecutor's Office during the investigative process. It was led by Maria Florencia Zicavo, a top Justice Ministry official seen as Cuneo Libarona's right-hand woman, according to a report by Perfil. All right, so let me I want to pull up the latest because it was decided. Okay, wait. Crypto scandal. That's where's the most current? Yeah, 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 yeah. Recent past week. U.S. court verdict. Do 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 do. Okay. So this. Sorry. They should call it kleptocurrency and not crypto or crapto. I like to call it crapto. This is from yesterday, October 21st, and the this is by this is My Trade. So these are all these crypto fucking news sites. They do take reporting from other more mainstream entities, but we'll see what this one says. Um, ah, okay. Oh, okay. Weird. All right, well, we'll just try and deal with this. A U.S. court rejected a seizure request by international investment funds that sought to link crypto funds linked to the Libra scandal to the Argentine state. Instead, a judge noted that the evidence pointed toward a private individuals as the parties controlling the funds. The conclusion further complicated the involvement of Argentine President Javier Milei, his sister Karina, and Libra promoter Hayden Mark Davis. Anybody remember that name? This week, federal judge Jennifer Rochon in the Southern District of New York denied a request by international investment funds that had attempted to seize Libra cryptocurrency assets by linking them to the Argentine state. Rochon argued that the evidence was insufficient to prove state ownership. Instead, she suggested that the millions generated by Libra could belong to Milei, his sister and Secretary General Karina Milei, or Mark Hayden Davis, who helped launch and promote the meme coin. The ruling frustrated the fund's attempt to locate assets to recover a loan to Argentina after the country suffered an acute economic crisis in 2001. The asset seizure case is legally distinct from the civil class action lawsuit filed against Milei by retail investors over their $251 million in losses. Nonetheless, it still highlights and complicates his connection to the broader scandal. Why foreign creditors tried seizing Libra assets. The request to Rochon represented a calculated move by four major investment funds seeking to get paid for a major debt. Palladian Partners, HBK Master Fund, Hirsch Group, and Virtual Emerald International Limited comprise the four financial firms that own. I'm going to have to hold on to this one. This one's a good one. Specific. Whole financial firms that own bonds that were part of the major debt restructuring following Argentina's massive 2001 sovereign default. Wow. Specifically, they hold GDP-linked securities which promise creditors a payout if Argentina's economy grows above a certain threshold. In 2019, these funds sued Argentina in a UK court, arguing that the country had incorrectly calculated its GDP to avoid triggering the payment on these bonds. In 2023, the court ruled in the fund's favor, ordering that Argentina pay them over $1.5 billion in debt owed. However, since then, Argentina has failed to do so. In light of this, the funds have launched a global campaign to locate and seize any assets belonging to the Argentine state that they could find in other countries. Following the Libra scandal, the funds have sought to justify the seizure of millions of dollars generated by insiders due to the token launch. The four international investment funds targeted the Libra scandal because it was a new, high-value asset that Milei strongly promoted. In their latest appeal before the Southern District of New York, these funds needed to prove that the billions generated by the token belonged to the Argentine state, not to private individuals. If they could prove this, then they could legally try to seize the Libra profits to cover their debt. The funds requested extensive documentation from Meteora, the Solana platform that launched the Libra coin. They also demanded testimony from several individuals to prove their cause. However, the fruits of their efforts eventually backfired. Judge Rochon rejected the fund's request because the creditors failed to provide enough credible information to justify involving the U.S. court system in a dispute primarily concerning a foreign state and foreign creditors. The funds were criticized for engaging in a fishing excursion, meaning they were not seeking specific relevant evidence. Instead, they used the court's power to conduct a speculative investigation into the entire cryptocurrency operation. She noted specifically that their evidence pointed to private ownership, further complicating Malay's participation in the scandal. Well, but does it? But does it? I want to see. Okay, let's. I wanted to see if there was something. Oh, actually, that's a good one too. This might be a good one. We can continue our Malay conversation later, but um, so, but there was another story. I do want to kind of. Where is that? There was another story about him. So I think Jazika is on Blue Sky now, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Oops. Jazika, Blue Sky. I thought she was. I could be wrong. Oops. Oh yeah, she's there. And it's Jazika dot. Oops. Oh shit. There she is. Oh, why am I not following her? I think she just came over. I'm gonna say that. What exactly are those maps called that Jazika makes? Conspiracy connection maps? I don't know what she calls them. I don't know what she calls them. Coffeezilla klepto thief. Yeah, I mean, this is what we watched at Coffeezilla talk about this. And the reason I want, just to put a period on this. What? Oh, yeah, meme coins are really, I'm sorry. The world of crypto brings us to some very strange places. Now, this is an old story from February of this year, and we've read this story before, but we're going to read it again because I want you to keep in mind the Libra coin and what it's done. You know that it's still not a resolved issue for Malay. And speaking of Hayden Davis, what are exactly those maps called? No can find. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me give you. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. La 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 la. Hold on. Where is it? What am I doing? Oh yeah. What am I doing and where am I going? What am I doing? All right. This is what was I doing? Oh, this is Jazika. There you go. There you go. I know it took me about a million things. Took me about a million tries. Anyway, yeah, we love her. We love her. She's very smart, and she has the most. And if you aren't familiar with her work, oh, here we go. This is an example of her work. Absolutely beautiful maps. Corporate. This is corporate news, un-American style. So it shows like all the relationships between different media outlets and things like that, and who's connected and where the money is. It's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, definitely. If you're not following Jazika on Blue Sky, please do because she really is quite. She's quite good. Um, yeah, she's quite good. So we love her. I love her. I know a lot of other people do too. Okay, let's just finish this one. Hayden Davis exposes Trump and Melania for crypto insider trading. This is one of my favorite stories of all time. You're welcome. She is great. Uh, this was February 2025. So, in a mind blowing interview with CoffeeZilla, which we watched, because you get all the best news here at Lolo's Lounge, damn it. Fuck the others. Fuck everybody else. You know what? We should raise money for a big computer studio. I should have a big studio for my 17 viewers. What am I even doing? need to win the lottery. Okay, in a mind-blowing interview with CoffeeZilla, Kelsey's Hayden Davis, the self-proclaimed launch strategist behind multiple political meme coin launches, openly admitted to insider trading, sniper wallets, and market manipulation, implicating Presidents Donald Trump and Javier Milei. There you go. As well as First Lady Melania Trump. You are having community. Hi, Carrie! Hi! He detailed how meme coins like Libra were rigged from the start, how insiders had pre-launch access to tokens, and how every major launch was nothing more than a calculated financial game. This is an insider's game. It's an unregulated casino, Hayden said, confirming that early buyers at a private dinner in Washington, D.C. were given access to Trump's token before the public. How about that? And a house band. Yeah, we need a house band too. Yeah. I thought some of these meme coins could turn into something real, Hayden added, but the reality is it's just a game. The people who know how to play win. The rest lose. Mind you, this is the guy who launched the Libra token that wiped out $4.6 billion from the market in 6 hours. Can you spot the difference? Let's see. Oh, look at this. Malay. This is their this is the Libra coin. This is that. That's Bitcoin. I don't even understand. Why is Bitcoin under Bukele? It's dumb. Hayden shared that before Trump's token launch, a small group of investors were granted exclusive pre-sale access at a valuation of $500 million. Here's Lolo. I know, really. We need all the community we can get, but I'm a slight sociophobe, so thank you. No problem. According to him, these buyers were let in before the contract address was made public so that they could purchase at rock bottom prices before the retail frenzy. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Well, I think it's all tied into all of this. I think Hayden Davis needs to speak. That's what I think. I think, where is Hayden Davis? I've been saying it since we learned about Hayden Davis. Where is he? Why isn't he speaking more about what he's involved in? That's true. You can actually read chat, and you can actually interact with the host, right? I interact with my chat. I know we don't want it to be too big, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice to, I don't know, whatever. According to him, they gave people special access to buy in before it launched, Hayden said. That's what I was told. Bullshit. That's what he knew. He was not told bullshit. Yeah, let's find him and start posting about him everywhere. That's a good idea. I'll share a bunch of Hayden Davis shit. I just think he needs to talk. I think he holds the key to some of the corruption. When pressed on where this happened, he named Washington, D.C. as the location where the deal allegedly took place. We'll have a studio audience and separate rooms for the sociophobes who wish to remain by themselves. That's a great idea. I would just want to, I'll take a computer that works. Okay? I'll take a computer setup that is well connected and just is reliable. That when I turn it on in the morning, it does the same thing as it did when I turned it off last night. That's literally what I'm experiencing. Is I'll turn it off on one, then I turn it on the next morning, and everything's different, and I can't tell who's connected to what. I mean, really. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't know. It's not. It's actually not important. I mean, what's important is that things change. It just gets depressing. That's all. It just gets hard. And it gets harder when stuff like this happens where it's like, I can't even use basic equipment type stuff. That makes me mad. Okay, anyway, but back to Hayden Davis. When pressed on where it happened. Oh, Melania's token, Hayden admitted, followed the same playbook. He was directly involved in the launch and confirmed that his team sniped it. He admitted on CoffeeZilla, which we watched, that he sniped the Melania coin that he was launching. He admitted to taking money from investors. I don't, this is why I don't understand why Hayden Davis isn't part of the conversation. Because he admitted to all of this. He admitted to all of this. All of it. He was directly involved in the launch, this is the Melania coin, and confirmed that his team sniped it. The goal, according to him, was to counteract external snipers. Bullshit. But in reality, it meant insiders once again took the best entry positions before the public could. We weren't the big sniper, Hayden said. This is bullshit. That's what we were trying to avoid. But on-chain data tells a different story. A wallet tied to his operation received $1.5 million worth of Melania's token from an address labeled Melania D Liquidity 2.0. The tokens were then dumped, crushing the price and leaving retail investors with massive losses. How sniping and insider deals keep the market rigged. Hayden's interview confirmed what most crypto traders already suspected. Every major meme coin launch is manipulated from the beginning. He described how bot-driven sniping ensures that insiders always have the best entry positions while regular buyers get in at inflated prices. Every single meme coin launch gets sniped, Hayden admitted. A handful of elite traders figure out how to extract liquidity before the public even has a chance. He also said that early contract leaks play a huge role in this system. Private groups pay for access to pre-launch addresses so they can front-run the market before token even goes live. I just, like, this is why this kid, I didn't understand it at the time why he wasn't being talked to, and I don't understand it now. Hayden confirmed that it happens across the entire industry, from Solana-based launches to Binance Smart Chain projects. This is the conversation that goes on with everybody, he said. Everybody that knows how these launches work, that's the conversation. The people with the most money, the most access, and the most control always win, Hayden told CoffeeZilla. They never lose. He acknowledged that meme coins are a zero-sum game where one trader's gain is another trader's loss. The community reaction, right? The community's reaction to Hayden's interview, which has been hilarious. Zach XBT, the prominent on-chain detective, tweeted, "Does not sound like Hayden from Kelsey or wherever consulted a lawyer before doing this interview, which is kind of wild. Nonetheless, makes for hilarious content." CoffeeZilla himself said after the interview, "Meme coins are wealth redistribution tools to move money from the public to pre-sale, outsiders to insiders, and degens to developers. Don't waste your life making some KOL dork rich." I like CoffeeZilla. One response to CoffeeZilla's tweet took a direct jab at the term developer, saying, "Calling memes deployers developers, you're insulting everyone who actually knows a programming language in the world." Another user said, "CoffeeZilla and Libra interview is just 1 hour and 11 minutes of the Libra dev admitting to like 13 international financial crimes, which can get you decades in jail." This was my point. It's, yes. I love that you so often cover stuff days or weeks before the others. I know, and I'm like, I'm just like, what? What? Um, it's because of all our friends. That's the only reason. For some, the tone of the reactions is more sinister. One user bluntly said, "This Hayden kid is absolutely fucked. At worst case, decades in prison are guaranteed. Not sure why he's doing this publicity tour. I pray for his safety." Now check out the short clip below and you'll see what he means. We watched this whole interview when it happened, but here's a minute and a half of it.
No, this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but I have to ask because, this is part of what my story is about. You know, a lot of people have linked you to the Melania launch, and that is a big question on everyone's mind, mine especially, which is, were you part of the Melania launch, and was that sniped as well?
I mean, look, I think that I told you like beforehand but before this started. I'm happy to share the truth, but I mean, you're asking a question that's it's just, I mean, I'll answer, but it's just factually going to put me into a lot of danger, which is fine. I'll answer. I was part of it. I think the team did want to snipe it because of how big the snipe was on Trump's, and we weren't we definitely weren't the big sniper. We were not that was what we were trying to avoid. And we didn't make any. There was no money made from the Melania team on any. We didn't take any liquidity out. Zero.
Okay. Wow.
Meanwhile, the legal jeopardy Hayden now faces is a central topic of conversation. Another user commented, he is holding $100 million of liquidity for Libra. See, this is the thing. He also admitted in an interview with CoffeeZilla, by the way, with this guy again, about the Libra coin, that he has $100 million that he's holding on to from the Libra coin sales that he doesn't know who to give to. This is what Hayden Davis said. Like, he's really quite a character. Yeah, I do like CoffeeZilla. I like his. Hi, Paul J. How are you doing? I'm launching my own meme coin. It's called Clucky Bucks. Clucky Butts. I know. His pause on thought was funny. I know. So Hayden Davis, I think, is someone that it'd be nice if we talk a little bit more. We broke into the jewelry store, but we didn't steal anything. Actually, what Hayden says about Libra is he broke into the jewelry store, and he's holding the jewels, but he doesn't know what to do with the jewels. That's what he said. I'm not sure who they belong to, but he's holding on to it. Yeah. Okay. When you go into the Hayden Davis story and the Hayden Davis family, he's a family of criminals, by the way. He comes from a family of criminals, so I don't know. I wonder when Hayden Davis is going to be part of the news cycle, but apparently he's doing a pretty good job of staying under the radar. It seems like. Okay. Let's see. He's holding $100 million of liquidity on Libra coin. I would think his only option would be to put it in. Otherwise, he's just stealing that. It seems like he was going to, but got caught by the people you don't want to mess with, probably. So now it is the team's money that was in his personal wallet. One user posted, ha ha ha, this is Malay's second rug he accidentally promoted on social media. He promoted CoinX, a Ponzi scheme, in 2021 while a senator. What a complete and utter disgrace for a head of state. See, I think there's so much, like, people, the crypto people know who's been doing, like, the bad shit. Anyway, so watch out for this name, Hayden Davis. Oh, where's a picture of him? There he is. This is him. That's Hayden Davis, by the way. Not her. That's Melania. With some Vaseline on the lens. And not him. But this guy, we senator in Argentina. When Milei was a senator in Argentina. Anyway, so yeah, this is from Cryptopolitan. But yeah. All right. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I want to do that. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to watch this Palmer Luckey thing. Hold on. Um. Oh, it's on Instagram? Wait, hold on. Ah! Okay, I can't. I have to subscribe to read this. Continue reading. Can I just. Oh, poop! Barry Weiss, go fuck yourself, you stupid cow. Alright, well, I'll have to figure that out. But I wanted to do this. I wanted to listen in on some of that interview. But now I think I fucked up. Oh, I wanted to read about this woman too. Okay. Actually, this woman has something to do with, what's his name? Alright, this is from the New York Times. Let me take a drink of coffee. It's just a big game. See, the problem with crypto is there this is why regulations are so important in crypto, because it's really just like an unregulated, like IPOs. It's just like unregulated IPOs where you could just dump a bunch of stuff and it doesn't matter who invested before. Like there's no regulation, there's no oversight. You know, with an IPO, with a stock offering, right? When you go public, I was at Schwab when it went public. Um, when you go through an IPO process, everything is like super scrutinized by the SEC. Like all your trading activities of your whatever certain level of people and above, like it's so heavily regulated so that you can't really, yeah, fuck Barry Weiss. Uh, it's so heavily regulated. Obviously IPOs can be corrupt. There can be corruption, da 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 da. But it's much harder to execute corruption and shut people out of the market and things like that. Obviously, it's already inherently rigged because as someone in the corporation, you may get stock options to buy at a certain price, which will always guarantee you, or at least give you a much lower entry price. So there's ways, like there's stock options and things like that exist, and they are also very corrupt in their own way, but they're heavily regulated at least, I guess, or they were. I guess we don't have an SEC anymore, but crypto doesn't have any of those guardrails, any of them, and so I just think it it's unfortunately it's gonna we're gonna be fucked like by everything. But maybe the good thing is we're gonna get we're gonna probably be killed by RFK Jr. before we get that. Yeah, the tech right gets its own Phyllis Schlafly. I wanted to read about Catherine Boyle because I think Silicon Valley is a big problem. And Catherine Boyle is a friend of J.D. Vance's, but also I think this will uncover Mark Andreessen and links to all these people. So, yeah, I know. What a grim title, I know. It's just been a grim day. Catherine Boyle, an influential venture capitalist who is a friend of the vice president, thinks the country's path forward involves cultural conservatism and more weapons production. Are we in the 80s again? Because this feels very much like the 80s, and I was real happy that we moved out of the 80s. So this cunt with a incredibly poor fashion choices. What the fuck is that? Is that 1989 Talbots that she's wearing? Fuck me. I think I might need to go up to Silicon Valley and do a little protesting. I think it might be time to go home. Might be time to go home to the valley. I like the 80s, but I was a literal child. No, I think that we made some mistakes. We really made some mistakes. It looks like my old shower curtain. It looks like my old... I mean, really. Come, Mervin's. She's Mervined. She got Mervined. Okay. Anyway, let's see, what's this? Okay. In early 2022, the investor Catherine Boyle looked out and saw a nation in malaise. Birth rates were declining. The military was overspending and under-delivering in her estimation. Public trust in institutions had sunk to historic lows. Which ones? Which ones? Can the author be more specific? And the American government, she believed, was too hamstrung by... Oh, hold on, I need to turn that off. It's too airy in here. And the American was hamstrung by bureaucracy and special interests to fix any of it. She also spotted an unlikely silver lining. The pandemic had been a disruptive black swan. Addressed to my wife and I, 3 cat floors. That's weird. That's really weird, Josh. Oh my god. That sounds like a start of a horror movie with cats. The pandemic had been a disruptive black swan, where have we heard that before, event that she believed could finally crack open the status quo. In an essay titled Building American Dynamism, she declared, I believe the only way to reverse the course of stagnation and kickstart nationwide renewal post-COVID is through technologists building companies that support the national interest. Well, you know what, Catherine? You can go fuck yourself, you stupid cunt. The post published on the website of Andreessen Horowitz, where Ms. Boyle is a general partner, Mark Andreessen, marked the launch of that venture capital firm's $600 million American Dynamism Fund, targeting early-stage companies in industries like defense, energy, education, and manufacturing. The fund has already helped produce billion-dollar startups. It also opened a new chapter in Ms. Boyle's bid to exert influence in both Silicon Valley and Washington. For most of her career, Ms. Boyle, religious, Republican, and not unlike 21st century Phyllis Schlafly, was an outlier in the tech world. But today, as Silicon Valley undergoes a generational shift to the right, many of her once contrarian views are making their way into the mainstream. Thanks in part to her long-standing friendship with VP J.D. Vance, she has also become one of the tech world's most reliable conduits to the Trump administration. Her impact is visible in the venture capital industry's newfound embrace of defense tech, in its open support for Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, and in the government's deepening ties with the tech industry from the Department of Government Efficiency to the Department of Defense. Since 2022, Ms. Boyle's investing thesis has snowballed into a new language of patriotic investing. A crop of copycat funds across the industry and a rising class of politically conservative hard tech founders who talk a lot about what America represents. Many of the ideas that Ms. Boyle, 39 years old, has promoted have nothing ostensibly to do with her investing portfolio. In a keynote speech at the American Enterprise Institute last winter, Ms. Boyle told the audience, we are living in an age of mimetic power and mimetic war. Meme it and we will be it. As one of X's most influential posters, she has declared that we are entering an era of the martyr after the assassination of the conservative activist and op Charlie Kirk, who was a flaming racist, and endorsed the Trump administration's military strikes on drug cartels. Destroy them all, she says. Yeah, send them back and get a refund. There you go. I think there should be a chief marketing officer of America, Ms. Boyle told a podcaster in March. That would be a dream job. These remarks have also helped shape the conservative conversation outside the tech industry. Barry Weiss, the new editor-in-chief of CBS News. I can't believe I'm saying that. I cannot. Yes, I am going to need a bigger boat. Barry Weiss, the new editor of CBS News and a founder of the Free Press, where Ms. Boyle is a board member, has called her one of the most important voices of this pivotal moment. Is she, though? Oh, look! It's Peter fucking Thiel. Like Ms. Weiss, Ms. Boyle counts Peter Thiel, the Silicon Valley billionaire and right-wing power broker, as someone who's played a key role in her career. She has managed to build on what Peter Thiel was doing, but without as much of the baggage, said Max Chafkin, the author of a 2021 biography of Mr. Thiel, the Contrarian. Right now, what's Thiel doing? He's giving a lecture on the Antichrist. Ms. Boyle, on the other hand, is able to take some of that energy and present it in a way that is less controversial. No, this is the thing, though. You know what? No, bitch. No, bitch. No, bitch. You don't get it, Catherine Boyle, you stupid fucking bitch. You stupid fucking cunt. You don't get any. You're not less controversial. You're more controversial, and you're my new favorite target. A representative for Mr. Thiel didn't respond. For the Americans who feel that something in our culture is fundamentally broken, Ms. Boyle offers a compelling diagnosis, borrowing the author Walker Percy's line that we live in a deranged age. Yeah, and you're the derangement. You fucking cunt. Some critics, however, are concerned that she is distorting the current state of affairs to her own benefit. American dynamism cloaks itself as a moral crusade, but it's an idolatry of wealth, nationalism, and weaponry, said Gil Duran, who we love, a journalist and the author of a forthcoming book, The Nerd Reich, Silicon Valley Fascism and the War on Democracy. He compared Ms. Boyle's movement to a Silicon Valley pitch deck version of Christian nationalism. And let me tell you who else I'm pissed off at. Let me tell you who else really fucking let us down. Okay? Fucking Kara Swisher. Kara Swisher, go fuck yourself. Kara Swisher spent her entire motherfucking career lifting up scions of industry in Silicon Valley and didn't once tell us anything about what was going to happen or who they were. And she knew. Okay? So Kara Swisher, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, you stupid fucking compliant cunt. You stupid cunt. God, I fucking hate you, Kara Swisher. Fuck you. You fucking enabled all these bros. Oh. Wow. I should have been much more vocal. Like, I don't know. I used to think when I was asking for money from people in Silicon Valley, because I was a fundraiser for a nonprofit. So I had hours of meetings with people in Silicon Valley at Microsoft and all over. Google, Facebook, Instagram, I knew all those people. And I thought, and I remember thinking a lot, there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect between what we were working towards and trying to create and this and we would hit up against no funding challenges and things like that. And in the back of my mind I always thought, why am I fucking begging these people for money for kids in their fucking neighborhood, right? I was raising money for after school program that I worked for, and I always felt like we would just get crumbs, but we had to fight really hard for those crumbs. They'd have grant programs and shit like that, and you would fight for $20,000. Can you imagine? $20,000 was a big grant for me at certain points in my career, and we would just be there begging and begging and begging and jumping through hoops for this $20,000 grant and having to act like it was just the most wonderful. I can't even believe the way this country. I can't even believe it. Foundations are broken. I've always said that. It's gonna be one of those days. Okay. Ba 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 ba. He compared Ms. Boyle's. Yeah. Okay. I met Miss Boyle for lunch over the summer at a beige-washed hotel in Palm Beach, Florida, 15 minutes down the road from Mar-a-Lago. She wore diamond earrings and a white blazer, the brunette roots peeking out beneath her blonde blowout, the only hint that she is a working mother, constantly on the road. Are you kidding me? Who is writing this? Her thoughts emerged fully formed, many of them familiar from her previous interviews on podcasts and her online writings. Her theories on what the TV show Mad Men can tell us about modernity and its discontents have gotten a particular workout lately. Miss Boyle works from her wood-paneled home office decorated with an American flag and an antique typewriter in a suburb of Miami. She has called work-from-home benefits for mothers of young children more important than fertility benefits, maternity benefits, child care benefits. She was sporting a second trimester bump, her third child. She believes the low U.S. birth rate is a symptom of a spiritual crisis in America, though she rejects the idea that the economic causes are to blame and instead attributes to a decades-long attack on the family. I have not felt that the family has been attacked forever, right? Yeah, pennies to help the people, billions to oppress and kill them. Our young boys are over-medicated. Millennials are stuck in a prolonged adolescence. Irony has helped kill American innovation. What? What does that even mean? I don't even know what that sentence means. I don't even know what that fucking sentence means. That doesn't make any fucking grammatical sense. For many of these problems, she blames the leftist ideologies that she claims dominated the last decade. She believes most would be helped by a return to the nation's Western Judeo-Christian roots. Oh, she's a real piece of shit. Yeah, exactly. This whole story smells like some top level editor ordered it up. That's a good call, Neil. It's hard. It's trying hard. Let's put it that way. Like so many powerful conservative women before her, Ms. Boyle has a life that's a tangle of contradictions. She laments the rising age of motherhood in the United States, but didn't have her first child until she was 34. She has criticized no fault divorce, but comes from a happy family of half siblings. She rails against the overeducation of millennials, yet possesses two advanced degrees. She decries the impacts of feminism, yet enjoys them herself as one of the most successful female investors in Silicon Valley. It was just word slop, right? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Still, her approach has been really appealing to Magaland and a bridge to the tech world for that crowd, said Ben Freeman, a director at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, a Washington think tank that advocates military restraint in U.S. foreign policy. And the tech right has increasingly recognized Ms. Boyle as a powerful communicator for its cause, in private and in public. During the pandemic, she became a fixture at the club on the Clubhouse audio platform. Is any gal squad in here? Clubhouse? Isn't that all the little space, like, what's that Polly guy? The guy who's really mean, who holds spaces on Twitter that are just fucking evil and that came after me, came after Gal. That's all these former Clubhouse. Yeah, that's them. Thank you, Gal. By the way, they can all go fuck themselves too. All the people on Twitter who are like these spaces hosts who tried to come after us and make us feel bad and like defame us and things, you can go fuck yourselves too. Like all the way off. Like fall off a cliff and die. And in signal group chats where conservatives and tech exchange then subversive ideas about the political direction of the country. She also began attending events for Mr. Vance's secretive donor group, the Rockbridge Network. What? Yeah, in other words, shut the fuck up, rich lady. Yeah. Um, she also began attending for events for Mr. Vance's secretive donor group, the Rockbridge Network, where Trump world politicians connect to talk political and economic strategy with big money donors. Well, what? What? Well, that's interesting. We're going to have to come back to that. I didn't know about the Rockport group. Okay. All right. Da, 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 da. Let me make sure I get to the right. What? Wow. Why does it go so far away? God damn. Oh, really appealing. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait. What's that? Dan says he's not in Israel to babysit the Gaza ceasefire. Ecuador has freed and will not charge a man who survived a U.S. strike on a vessel in the Caribbean. Well, that's probably a good thing. Ms. Boyle tends to view history as a chain of pivotal moments. There was the day Nixon administration announced the end of the draft in 1973, which she believes severed Americans from patriotism and purpose. So she was not alive then, right? 40? She's 40. She wasn't alive then. I was alive then. Okay? I was alive then. And that's bullshit. It didn't sever Americans. You know what severed Americans from patriotism and purpose? Uh, False wars. That's what severed Americans from patriotism is false wars. You stupid cunt. Paul J, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see you. I'm sorry, you caught me in such a mood, but I am delighted. It's been a while, and I'm glad you're back. So I just want to say welcome back, Paul J. We love you. COVID feels quaint compared to what this country is going through. So hard to have hope. Been struggling in this little town that doesn't care. One protester showed up and was blasted in Facebook. Oh man, Paul J. I'm gonna tell you. Was it not the Dulles Bros? I think the Dulles Bros did some severing. Yeah, they might have done so. That sounds like she doesn't like that she can't have serfs, peasants, and slaves. Yeah. 100% first Gulf War changed my views on things. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Forcing, at the time, young men to go to war severed people's, a war that wasn't wasn't even, reasonable. I mean, Vietnam was not a reasonable. There was no reason for that. There was July 13th, 2024, the day Mr. Dump survived an assassination attempt in Butler, after which Miss Boyle wrote on X, "The game is over. You can say what you're thinking now." The game is over. You can say what you're thinking now. This woman's a real piece of work. A real piece of work. Diamonds and dark roots. Yeah, that's the working mom look now. I didn't know that. Does she dye her own hair? Because I've dyed my own hair since like the 90s. There was also the day in 1970s when Miss Boyle's father, a would-be Jesuit priest, decided to drop out of seminary to go to medical school, allowing him to marry and have children, and so Miss Boyle was born, the youngest of 6 siblings and half-siblings in Gainesville, Florida, where she said she developed a deep reverence for the armed service members, God, and country. She arrived at Georgetown University with, as she once put it, the intention of blazing my own trail down Pennsylvania Avenue in a pink power suit. Ugh. I did ride down there, but he was gone. I know, Paul. I know you tried. I said I was going to join him in a couple other positive comments. Oh, that's, but this is, there was someone who said, um, for the No Kings, for protesting, take a picture of yourself, because years from now, you will be the heroes of generations who stood up at the moment against authoritarianism. And so I really feel that is a great encouragement, because for people like that, Paul J., where they're just the one single person out there, because it feels very awkward to be the only protester. I've done it plenty of times, and it can be very awkward and very lonely. But I'll tell you what, I actually think it's one of the most important acts that you can take, and that should be documented so that years from now, that you can look back and say these were the heroes, and that guy's a hero, like just plain old, he's a hero. So yeah, I know you wanted to make contact. Hey, you know what, there's probably going to be another opportunity, Paul J. I hate to say it, I wish there wasn't, but I think we're going to end up doing that again. She wound up in a reporting job at the Washington Post, where she said she often found herself out of step with colleagues she perceived as more liberal. In 2014, her 20s wound down. She moved to California to start a degree at Stanford Business School. There she encountered Mr. Thiel's 0 to 1, a book that combines political philosophy with business advice. The book details a need for definite optimists, people with a positive vision of the future and a clearly defined path to get there. It was the only thing that really made sense to me, Ms. Boyle said. She cold emailed Mr. Thiel, who didn't respond, but did forward her note to Trey Stevens, one of his partners at the venture capital firm Founders Fund. After some haranguing, Mr. Stevens invited her to intern at Founders Fund in San Francisco and help him expand the firm's national security-focused portfolio. As Ms. Boyle sat in on meetings with defense tech founders, 2 things became clear. First, she determined the government was a nightmare customer, hampered by regulatory hurdles and impenetrable bureaucracies. Second, for those who crack the code, the rewards, hundreds of billions of annual spending by the federal government, would be enormous. In 2016, Ms. Boyle joined another firm, General Catalyst, where she began to develop an investment strategy for civic tech, a category that included space travel, education, infrastructure, and defense. That year, she published an article in TechCrunch arguing that Mr. Dump's election should be a wake-up call for the tech world to escape its echo chamber and start to serve the massive market of voters who supported his candidacy. She also found camaraderie with Mr. Vance, then a principal at one of Mr. Thiel's investing outfits. I'm going to read that again. She also found camaraderie with Mr. Vance, then a principal at one of Mr. Thiel's investing outfits. In 2016, she hosted a book party for Mr. Vance's memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, in her San Francisco apartment. Ms. Boyle and Mr. Vance, a graduate of Yale Law School, both fit an archetype that Thiel tends to elevate, Mr. Chafkin, the biographer, said. In Mr. Thiel's world, he said, turning your back on the culture of the elite institutions you were a part of is probably the single best thing you can do for your career. The next year, this copy came across my desk. I'd be trying to find out where we're running it. I actually really, Neil, everything you're saying is appreciated, because I want your comments on the reporting here, because I agree with you. This reporting seems very odd. I don't know. I spray sheer blonde lightning spray on my dirty blonde and gray roots every 3 weeks. It gently bleaches them without damage. Oh, there you go. That's nice. Another thing for preserving history is get digital items printed. Much of my digital history gets purged by big tech. Yes. Yes. Meowing Star, you're right. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, the next year, Ms. Boyle ran into Mr. Stevens at a conference where he told her about Anduril, a company he had co founded with the hopes of transforming the future of high tech warfare. Fundraising was difficult, he told her. Meta had recently fired one of his co founders, Palmer Luckey, for donating to a pro Trump organization, and the company was already drawing public blowback for its work building surveillance towers for the Customs and Border Protection Agency. Ms. Boyle wanted in. And there's Palmer Luckey, Matt Gates' brother in law. That's right. When it came time to pitch Anduril to her bosses, Ms. Boyle stayed up all night drafting a 16-page memo on just war theory, a centuries-old theological framework for determining when violence is morally justified. General Catalyst agreed to cut $2 million check for Anduril's seed round, its first such investment, in a moment when military applications were considered radioactive in most of Silicon Valley. Anduril was valued at $88.12 million. Today, it's worth $30.5 billion. I'm going to read that again. What was the year on this? 2016? What was the year? 2016. So 2017 this is about. Wow. General Catalyst agreed to cut a $2 million check for Anduril's seed round. This is 2017. Its first such investment in a moment when military applications were considered radioactive in most of Silicon Valley. Anduril was valued at $88 million. Today, it's worth $30.5 billion. Soon, Ms. Boyle joined Andreessen Horowitz, where her portfolio now includes Hadrian, which makes precision parts for aerospace and defense, Apex Space, transport systems for satellites, and Castellian, hypersonic weapons. Ms. Boyle is one of 3 general partners leading the American Dynamism Fund alongside David Ulevich and Aaron Price Wright. They don't always align politically, Mr. Ulevich said, but Catherine and I have the same belief that we want America to be the place that people want to build their dreams in. This is all the dumbest stuff. Oh my God. While her partners lean into product and business fundamentals, Catherine really focuses on the storytelling of it, Ms. Price Wright said, and whether a founder has what it takes to basically build their cult. What? What? Sometimes this commitment to ideological aura defies rationality. In February, the American Dynamism Fund announced that it was hiring Daniel Penny, a Marine veteran best known for restraining a New York City busker named Jordan Neely in a chokehold until he died, as a deal partner. When asked about Mr. Penny's lack of business experience, Miss Boyle simply told me, "He's wonderful. He's a gentleman." She added that the firm was making an effort to hire more veterans. You learn on the job. I don't know. It's New York Times. It's the New York Times. There's Mark Andreessen. He's also a prick, okay? And we should boil him in oil eventually. In July last year, Andreessen, I'm very, you know what? Watch out, Silicon Valley. I'm coming. Apparently, I'm on your tail. I'm not going to do anything to you, so nobody take this as a threat. But I'm going to tell you right now, I wish all the bad things to happen to the people in Silicon Valley. Sorry, not sorry. Ben Horowitz endorsed Dump's run for president, a significant departure from Silicon Valley norms at the time. Mr. Horowitz would later support Kamala Harris, Mr. Dump's Democratic opponent, but celebrated his victory in November nonetheless. Since Mr. Dump's re-election, the firm has embedded itself in the administration, sending several of its top executives to either unofficially advise or take roles at federal agencies. Last winter, Ms. Boyle informally consulted on the formation of the Doggy Department. At the American Dynamism Summit in March, Mr. Vance gave the closing keynote. It's time to align the interest of our technology firms with the interest of the United States of America writ large. In September, Andreessen Horowitz launched its Dynamic Tech Defense Reform Initiative to lobby for a series of congressional bills designed to level the playing field for disruptive defense startups. Already, the shifting norms in Washington have begun to help Ms. Boyle's investments. In July, the passage of Dump's signature domestic policy bill was a boon to the defense industry, earmarking $300 billion. Yeah, they all look like penises, right? Thank you, Badge. I appreciate it. I probably won't be alone in the gulag, at least. Um, Including carve-outs for autonomous surveillance towers that only Anduril can supply, as well as drone system and naval technology contracts that are well suited to Miss Boyle's portfolio. Some industry analysts, however, have questioned the sharp valuation increases of certain American dynamism companies, including Saronic and Hadrian, noting that defense budget volatility and high capital demands could make the projected profitability difficult to achieve. Let me just break that down a little bit for you, because I think that the industry analysts might be operating under the non-movie version of what we're in right now. but the real version right now is that we have donors, rich people, and companies that are hell bent on the destruction of the planet, and us, and people, and anybody who doesn't have money. And I don't mean just some money, I mean a lot of money. God, we were right. We were right when we talked about serfs. And how could we have stopped this? Could we have stopped this? Could we have stopped this from happening? I wonder about that. Do we just go along with it? I mean, I don't really understand that. It was a big conversation. Meowing Star. Wait, I swear that they invest in Democrats only so they can exert pressure and get the candidate to take losing strategies. That sounds very reasonable. That sounds like a reasonable. There is only what is. I know. There is only what is. It was a big conversation in the trans community about creating as many personal and protected libraries before the information. That's a really good point, and I don't think we've done really much in regards to that collectively. Maybe, the trans community and others have done more in that regard, but yeah, if anyone needs an after-time stash held in Canada, hit me up. Jane, I'll be there. It's so sad. So sad. Others are concerned that the defense contracting process is at risk of becoming too efficient. The Defense Department's acquisitions process has historically been slow because these are weapons that can and do kill people. You need to have a little more or a lot more oversight, Mr. Freeman of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft pointed out. I asked Miss Boyle whether she might have political ambitions herself, perhaps even to play a key role if her friend Mr. Vance runs in 2028, something I had heard floated by two founders in Mr. Teal's social circle. She laughed and reminded me of the earlier chunk of our conversation when she had waxed poetic about the benefits of working from home to be with her family. Politics is a blood sport. I don't want to bring them into that, she said. Oh, I'll bring them in. Bring your bitchy little kids in, you stupid bitch. Instead, her vision was more abstract. If I have my dream, the idea that any of this was controversial or scary, that we were in a deep rut because we didn't have these capabilities, it'll sort of be memory hold. All these extrajudicial killings that we're doing. And if that happens by 2030, what a win. I'm sorry that today can't be more. Oh, I wanted to play this. This is 16 minutes. I wanted to play this because it has to do with the Caribbean, the stuff in the Caribbean. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, and I can smoke some weed while we're doing it. And then January 20th hit, and indeed the admin started erasing us from so many government resources just straight up. So we can at least attest it's real. Yes. There have been projects to create hard backups. Oh, that's good. Oh, Ruta, we ignored him. I'm sorry, Jane. I couldn't find where he was talking, so But then all this other stuff happened too. So, all right, let's watch this. Let me shut myself up. I have to do 2 different steps here. So I'm going to shut myself up, then I'm going to play this.
Trump's war on drugs looks like.
I see boats coming in like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, and we're going to take them out.
The U.S. military destroyed these boats in international waters off of Venezuela's shores. Trump is justifying the controversial attacks as targeting narco-terrorists. It's the biggest U.S. military deployment in the region of the 21st century, and it could also be targeting Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro's grip on power. So is this really a war on drugs from Venezuela, or is the U.S. up to something bigger in the Caribbean? The Roosevelt Roads naval base in Puerto Rico was shut down in 2004. For the last 2 decades, it was abandoned and slowly being reclaimed by nature. But now, the U.S. military is back, and with their most advanced fighters, Reaper drones, and Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft. Puerto Rico is a largely self-governed territory of the U.S. The U.S. military buildup is not only on the island, it's taking place across the Caribbean, with warships, aircraft, and even a nuclear-powered submarine. And their sights are set on Venezuela.
It's a significant deployment. We haven't seen anything like this in a generation.
Christopher Hernandez Roy is an expert on the Americas and on geopolitics at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a U.S. think tank.
For a counter-narcotics operation, it is much larger than anything that's ever been seen.
For Trump, it's not just a war on drugs, but on terrorism. His administration has designated several cartels and criminal gangs, among them Tren de Aragua, as terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
The president's thesis is that Venezuela is run by a drug cartel, and Nicolas Maduro sits at the top of that cartel.
This is what Trump posted. Tren de Aragua is operating under the control of Nicolas Maduro. The series of U.S. strikes on drug boats allegedly run by smugglers from Venezuela has killed dozens. United Nations rights experts have slammed the military strikes as lawless and as extrajudicial executions. The strikes stand in stark contrast to previous U.S. counter-drug operations. The U.S. Coast Guard used to intercept such boats and arrest and interrogate suspected smugglers. Now the suspects are simply being blown up.
Venezuela is deeply involved in the drug trade. It's a very important transit nation.
Jeremy McDermott is co-director of Insight Crime, an organization dedicated to studying organized crime.
Venezuela obviously has an enormous coastline, which is the Caribbean and the Atlantic. The stuff going through the Caribbean, some is bound for the United States, but a significant amount is bound for Europe. But the Pacific is more important than the Caribbean or Atlantic seaboards for drug smuggling into the United States. If we look at this from a drug trafficking perspective, it would indeed make more sense to station this flotilla in the Pacific.
But instead, Trump has zeroed in on Venezuela under Maduro, and it's not the first time. In Trump's first term, Maduro was already charged with narco-terrorism in the U.S., and a bounty was put on his head. Now that bounty has increased to $50 million. That's twice the amount the U.S. offered for Osama bin Laden.
What Nicolas Maduro has done is he has created a form of hybrid criminal governance. He's not running directly a drug trafficking organization. His regime has made alliances with criminal actors, including drug traffickers, and he is facilitating and protecting these businesses in exchange for the criminal rents he needs to maintain the loyalty to his regime.
So Trump does have a rationale if this is about fighting drugs. The U.S. has a major drug problem. Hundreds of thousands have died in recent years from opioids, heroin, and fentanyl. Donald Trump promised to stop the flow of drugs. But the size of the Caribbean operation could also indicate something else.
Some think that part of the pressure is, at a minimum, to get the regime to change certain behaviors and provide concessions. And others think that it could be an effort to push Maduro out of power.
And that's what Maduro himself also seems to believe.
El objetivo es entrar y apoderarse de Venezuela y hacer un cambio de régimen en Venezuela.
Maduro has mobilized the population, warning he's ready to declare a state of emergency if the U.S. attacks. Trump has authorized a CIA covert operation. So is the real U.S. goal to take Maduro down? To understand what's at stake, we need to take a closer look at this country, which, by the way, has the largest oil reserves in the world. It shares a land border with 3 countries, and additionally has several island states close by.
I still think that Venezuela is very important geopolitically for the region, not only for the Caribbean, but the entire Latin America and South American geography.
Oscar Schlenker is DW's correspondent for Venezuela. Born and raised in the country, he's currently in Germany.
When our country was in better shape, we were the door to South America.
In the 1970s, Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the region. The main reason? Those big oil reserves. For example, here, the Orinoco oil belt has huge potential, but it's far from being fully used. Today, after years of mismanagement, the Venezuelan oil industry is in disrepair. Corruption and organized crime is thriving, and the population is suffering from poverty, causing millions to leave the country. And growing tensions with the United States led to various sanctions starting in 2005, with Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez.
He had a really anti-American, anti-U.S. Rhetoric. U.S. and Venezuelan relations have been really bad for a number of years now.
Chavez died in office in 2013. Maduro has since installed a ruthless authoritarian regime. When Trump was asked if he wanted a regime change, he downplayed the possibility.
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election.
The U.S. called the recent presidential elections in Venezuela illegitimate and does not recognize Maduro as the president. Opposition candidates have either fled the country or were forced into hiding. That includes opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who got the Nobel Peace Prize for her persistent efforts to restore democracy and defend human rights in her country. Meanwhile, the U.S. is considering military strikes within Venezuela.
I think what the US is seeking to do here is to create fractures or ruptures within the Maduro regime. Everything depends on the military in Venezuela. The military essentially supports the Maduro regime, and of course, it's the main instrument of repression.
And that military has profited from organized crime. So the idea might be weaken the system that keeps Maduro in power to eventually take him down in the process.
I think they are trying to do everything possible or everything at their disposition to try and damage Maduro's administration.
But let's keep in mind, It wouldn't be the first time the U.S. toppled a government led by someone wanted on U.S. drugs charges. That's what happened in Panama in 1989 when the U.S. invaded the country.
There is a historical fear that the U.S. will meddle in South America's affairs in a way that is not fair for South America. In all honesty, there's a lot of citizens that are just really tired of the current regime that's governing Venezuela, and they wouldn't mind having a regime change at whatever cost.
But hold on. Hasn't Trump promised to keep the U.S. out of new wars?
We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone.
But that might not apply to the region we're talking about. Now it's time to look at the Caribbean as a whole. Remember that
I just want to say something at that point. First of all, Meowing Star, I totally understand. If anyone is having trouble with this, I understand. It's just everything is heavy. So I just totally appreciate. But one of the things I want to say is I don't think Trump was lying in his inauguration speech when he said we don't seek regime change or whatever. I don't think he gives a shit about who is in power in Venezuela. I think it is convenient that there is an authority or someone he can point to and say, this guy is unpopular or whatever. But let's not, everything now, nothing is about ideology anymore. Everything is about money. Everything is about critical minerals. Everything is about oil. Everything is about natural resources and gathering as much, because the one thing that Trump says over and over again, the thing that is stuck in his mind that they have reinforced enough, is that we must have control of most, if not all, of the world's critical resources, natural resources, water, lithium, magnets, whatever, all of the things. That is what drives him. Nothing ideological, nothing about crime, nothing about drugs. It doesn't matter. What matters is a control over the resources, which then allows you to control the populations. It's the American technate. It's that large orange slice. That's what it is. So, that's my 2 cents.
U.S. naval base in Puerto Rico. This is Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, on a warship there.
This might be the single most beautiful picture I have ever seen in my entire life. Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power.
The recent Caribbean deployment shows there's a shift to hard power.
The perception is the United States has become a bully, and you either do what you're told or you face sanctions of one type or another.
Recently, we called it shared neighborhood, but we might be returning to an older nomenclature of the U.S.'s backyard.
The U.S. operations in the Caribbean come after a few other moves by Trump in the Western Hemisphere. He threatened to take back the Panama Canal. We recently did a deep dive on this. And he, joked repeatedly about Canada becoming the 51st U.S. state. He also suggested using force to take Greenland from NATO ally Denmark. We also looked into that already. All this reminds many of a 200-year-old U.S. policy. The Monroe Doctrine is named after the 5th President of the United States. Back then, James Monroe basically warned European powers not to interfere or recolonize the Americas. For many, it seemed to proclaim that this part of the world was clearly a U.S. sphere of influence. Now, Trump seems to be pursuing a Monroe 2.0.
I think what it essentially means is that the United States wants to be the hegemonic power in its region. And it is the hegemonic power, certainly in the military sphere. But in the economic sphere, it has lost a lot of ground to China. And so it's pursuing policies that it feels will ensure that the region follows U.S. leadership.
And here is where that economic sphere really plays out. In Guyana, one of Venezuela's neighbors. The two countries have a decades-old border dispute, which involves oil-rich territories and a major offshore oil reserve. A reserve U.S. businesses have major interests in. To show support for Guyana, U.S. fighter jets made an appearance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. military flyover. Put your hands together.
So there's also an effect to have the military presence in the region as a deterrent against Venezuela taking any action against Guyana or against the oil platforms in the region.
So how does all this resonate in the rest of the region? Not too badly. Some countries are responding positively to Trump's harsh war on drugs.
This rhetoric really resounds in a lot of poorer people in the hemisphere that are really suffering from the crime and how crime has developed in the region, which brings a lot of violence, a lot of deaths, and a lot of insecurity.
The Caribbean is one of the most violent regions in the world. So this isn't some abstract notion. This is something that tops the political agenda and tops citizen concerns.
One country that has even signaled support for the U.S. naval presence is Trinidad and Tobago, right next door to Venezuela. Regional allies are still on Venezuela's side. But what about Venezuela's partners further afield, like China and Russia?
I would have imagined China and Russia to be a little bit more outspoken about these issues, but we haven't heard that much from Putin or from Xi Jinping about it.
Oh, they love it. Well, I mean, if the U.S. Explicitly pursues a policy where it says we are the preeminent power in the Western Hemisphere, and we are going to consider it our sphere of influence, that then allows China and Russia to declare openly without fear that they're going to do the same thing in their regions.
So what at first glance is an illegal attack on boats in international waters seems to be a lot more.
It's too big to be a counter-narcotics operation. It may be too small to be something that could be used for regime change.
So part of the U.S. case is motivated by an actual attempt to stop the flow of drugs into the U.S. But it's also a show of force, a means to secure U.S. interests, and the possible return of a foreign policy doctrine from another era.
Sorry, this setup is hard for me. I was just looking at Jim Stewartson's piece on the American Technate, which we read about when he wrote about it. And of course, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We've read and listened to Gil Duran and all the experts on neo-reactionary and blah 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 blah. But it's, again, I just think, and maybe this is just, oh, Mike, yeah. Maybe this is just me. But I feel like it would be desirable to have many individuals just to have this collective wisdom that the billionaires are really an issue, right? That there is fuckery afoot, right? And the monopolies and the network states and how that's progressing, which we should probably check in on. But then there's DW does do excellent work. That was Deutsche, is it Deutsche Welt? I think it's Deutsche Welt, from the Germans, and it is really good deep dives. I thought that's one of the best videos I think I've seen in a while. I really do, because to me it just presented factually these are things that are happening, right? Now, granted, there's always some kind of spin or bias. There's always some kind of bias, but I really liked the way they presented that. It really gave me a much better understanding of what just an orientation of the area. So I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I thought it was a really good explanation, or at least got me started down the road to learn more about what's happening. And but it really then drives home that kind of the pursuit of that technate, right? The pursuit of a section of the world and almost a gentleman's agreement, which is a terrible phrase, but gentleman's agreement where, okay, Putin, Xi, and Dump and whatever, whoever else, Saudis maybe, how do we divide up the world? How do we divide up the world and really get to a place of no accountability, right? That's not far-fetched. That's not far-fetched that there would be a common or even discussion around controlling interests in different parts of the world and what makes sense. And so I was looking for Jim's piece on, let me see if I can find it. Because he wrote I thought a good, oh man, I hate, it's so hard with these websites to search for things. Like, I just want to search, oh, there we go. Let me see. Okay, well, can I type? Can I type? Okay. Search. Okay, I don't know how to do this. No, that's the Technocracy. That's a good one, though. Damn, I can't find this. That's so weird. It was bookmarked. I wonder why it's not coming up. Let's see. Well, I can't find it. I'm going to find it, though, and put it in the... I will definitely put it in the description of the video, because I think it's a really good piece on this whole this concept of American technate and what that means in terms... And just the fact that, god damn it, every fucking... It is so... I mean, he's saying it right now. He says it every day. The policy of the United States is now the Mar-a-Lago Accord, and it is extortion of resources for the promise of security or the promise of not cutting someone out of the American market through exorbitant tariffs. That is literally the policy of this administration. Because he says over and over again, we're a rich country, we're a rich country. Why is our debt going up then? If we're such a rich country. I mean, the numbers don't make sense. And I've been looking at the economics numbers, and some of them on this particular website, which is supposed to draw from the government websites, hasn't been updated since the August or July or June numbers. So I don't know exactly what the fuck has been going on with data. It's how he's been rich all along, is being leveraged, yeah. And that's the thing. If he drives interest rates down or whatever, the debt is easier. But then he can just, if he undermines the dollar, he can default on the national debt. And just that, the world that people that are motivated by that want to create is a world that has no accountability. They don't want regulations. They don't want laws prohibiting their loophole, their shadow operations, their money laundering. They want to act with impunity. And then have and that's why social safety nets and other things are meaningless to them, because with AI they can replace workers and workforces in large part, or at least they think, with AI and other generative things, and the disintegration of universities and colleges in favor of trade schools and driving people towards machine work and other things fits perfectly into the infrastructure that is needed to drive an AI-based economy. So I really think, like, I don't understand all of these issues that well, but I feel like I've seen enough information now to at least understand what an end goal could be. And I don't know where the point of no return is when you get to a point where they've eliminated, well, SCOTUS being compromised in the way that it is really a point of no return for us, if you think about it. I don't know what miracle of intervention stops them from overturning anything that has to do with civil rights in favor of corporate protection and kleptocrat protection. Like, literally, I don't see where this ends, because frankly, every day brings a new shocking decision made by someone to do something. I mean, No Kings 2 was the largest protest in American history, it said. I've read. I don't know if that's true. Oh, hold on, Jane. Hold on to the power. So, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah, I think everyone in this community has a high degree of pattern recognition. Yeah, it's so stressful. It's so stressful. I hope you make it too, Jane. Hold on. Yeah. Protest before we invaded Iraq was also the largest in... Oh, was it? Wow. I don't know. I don't know, kids. Not really sure. I'm not sure what the answer is, that's for sure. I get really frustrated. Oh. But I do think, I feel like my drive right now is to just expose as much of Silicon Valley as possible. Just not expose, you know what I mean. I'm not making any historical moves here, but just to talk and to bring into conversation a lot about what the true power base, who's really running the country. Russ Vought is doing the dirty work, right? Stephen Miller's doing the dirty work. RFK Jr. is doing the dirty work, right? But who's really running the country, like their bosses, the money, is the Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Catherine Boyle, now on the list, David Sachs, Elmo, Palmer Luckey, Sam Altman, the Google guy, Tim Cook, Bill Gates, whoever was at that table, Mark Andreessen. Fight the power. Anyway, that's it. That's it for me. All right, well, we made it through until the 25th Amendment Trump and put in their guy, which then is a whole other layer, right? Then if Vance is advanced, if we get advanced, then we, I don't know. That's next level. That's a level in Baldur's Gate I haven't gotten to yet. All right. Well, I think that's it for me for today. And I don't know what to do. I think tomorrow's show will be like this. I think we'll have this kind of technology issue, and I apologize, but we'll get through it. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll figure it out. Vance is very unlikable. Yeah, no, Vance is really a problem, and he's going to be more annoying than Dump is, and I predict, and that's hard to say, but I just see it happening. He's going to be more insufferable to watch and listen to than Dump is, and I hate to say that, but I think that's where we are. So, damn it. What are you going to do? All right. Well, I will see you tomorrow morning. And hopefully, maybe, I don't know, maybe the tech gods will smile upon me. Yeah, it's covert now. Happy birthday to Karen, again, if she's still here. I hope if you're having anything in your life that's fun, that it's a good day. So I hope you have a good day. Have a good Wednesday. Is that what it is, Wednesday? Yeah. Yeah, from Tanner to eyeliner. Just another gender affirming care. More gender affirming care from this administration. Yeah. Anyway, I adore you. Thanks for putting up with all the whininess and also the tech issues. I really appreciate your grace. And I will definitely see you one way or another. You got your fridge? Fuck yeah. And Josh just got his fridge. Come on, that's a beautiful way to end the show. Is that not a beautiful way to end the show? I think it is. All right. Okay, I'll see you guys later. It'll take me a minute to get the music on, but hold on, the music's coming. Okay, bye.